Sorry, we're just waiting for a member of the panel to get a glass of water. So we'll be with you shortly. Thank you. Are we ready to go yet, Frankie?
We're just waiting for Rebecca.
Oh, of course. Sorry.
There. Looks to me like everybody's here. Is anybody aware of anybody that we're still waiting for? No, I think that's everyone. Right, let me just get the webcast started, and once that has started, we can begin them. Okay, I've been informed that we're now live. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this licensing hearing. It's a review of a premises license under the Licensing Act 2003 for Chin Chin Italian Bar and Kitchen at 60 Western Road in Hove, Bravo November 3, 1 Juliet Delta. Before we continue, could I just ask the councillors on the panel amongst themselves to elect a chair for this hearing, please?
I would like to nominate Councillor Cattell, please.
I'd like to second that.
Councillor Cattell, you are the chair.
Kerry, we can't hear you very well. Is that? I can't anyway. Are you?
Microphone's off.
Can everybody
Can you hear me
else? Yes, that's better. That's better.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Good morning, everybody, and thanks for coming along today on this hot day. I hope you're in a nice cool room. First of all, just a bit of procedural business. Are there any declarations of substitutes? I think all three of us are the ones that are on the agenda, so that's not an issue. Any declarations of lobbying by any of the people of
No.
Thank you. And we don't have any sort of non-public items today, so the press and public are okay to join this meeting. So this is an application for review of premises license, as Frankie said, for Chin Chin Italian Bar and Restaurant, 60 Western Road, Hove, and it's an application by Rita Conchio. Sorry, Rita, if we've got, is that correct? Conchio. Is that
Conchio, yes.
Conchio, that's fantastic. Thank you. I think we'll stick to first names because I don't want to sort of, it gets a bit much trying to pronounce people's names. Now, what I'll do for because this is a virtual hearing, please ensure your microphone is on when you're speaking, and if possible your camera, but please turn off your mic when you're not speaking. So what I'd like to do is to get everybody to introduce themselves and say what capacity you are here today, and I hope everybody's happy with first names. I think that's much easier at the moment, as I said, and we will have a short break at some point because I'm sure more people want to go and get water and so on. The way this will happen, the procedure will be that first of all we'll hear from the licensing officer, Emily. Then we'll hear from Rita, who is the applicant for this licensing review. Then we've got someone from environmental protection, and then we will have residents, and then the license holder, and at each point members of the panel will be able to ask questions, and other members of other people who have an interest will be also asked to if they have any questions. So I'll prompt you on that. So let's go around and do it. Introductions. First of all, I'm Councillor Julie Cattell. I'm Deputy Chair of the Licensing Committee, and I represent Westbourne and Poets Corner Ward. Colleagues, I'll go to John and Kerry first. Yeah.
So hi everyone, John Hewitt, Councillor for Hangleton and Knoll Ward and a member of the Licensing Committee.
Good morning, I'm Councillor Kerry Pickett for Preston Park Ward, and I'm also a member of the Licensing Committee.
Thank you. I'll go with officers now. So I'll start with Sarah. Sarah C. Yeah.
Good morning. I'm Sarah Cornell, and I'm the licensing officer dealing with this application today.
Timothy, or Tim.
Yeah. Good morning. I'm Timothy Starr, Environmental Health Officer for the Environmental Protection Team.
Thank you. Frankie.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Frankie Mitchell with Democratic Services, and I'm clerking this meeting.
Thank you very much. Rebecca.
Yeah, good morning. Rebecca Siddell, Legal Advisor to the panel.
Okie dokie. And now I'll go on to our rep from the press, Sarah. Other Sarah.
Good morning, Sarah Booker-Lewis, local democracy reporter for Brighton and Hove, representing the majority of news media in the city.
I think also Sarah's just sent a message to say that having problems hearing Kerry as well. Really sorry about this, Kerry. I don't know how we do
I'm just
this.
trying to sort out, something's happening with my volume. I'm just trying to sort it out. So I might go off camera just briefly, but I am listening. Is that allowed?
Of course it's allowed. I'll let you do that.
Brilliant, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Right, now move on to guests. Jonathan, can you tell us who you are and what you're doing here, as it were?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jonathan Barrowman, and I am a resident making representation at this hearing.
Fantastic. Victoria?
I also a resident making representation.
Okay. Rita?
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Rita Konju, and I am the applicant, also a resident in the area.
Thank you. Mary?
Hi, I'm Mary Sassy. I'm the branch coordinator of Hidden Hearing, and I'm making a representation on behalf of Hidden Hearing, who are the neighbours to Sin Sin.
Thank you. And David?
Morning, I'm David Toscano. I'm the respondent and licence holder.
Thank you very much. Okay, so first of all, I'm as long as hopefully Kerry's sorted herself out now. I will now hand over to Sarah. And where are we? Yes, hand over to Licensing Officer Sarah Sarah Cornell to present the case for the Licensing Authority.
Thank you. So as you've heard, this hearing has been convened so that the licensing authority can determine a review application submitted by a local resident for Chin Chin 60 Western Road, Hove. The premises licence holder is Chin Chin or Sin Sin, UK Limited. A copy of the current premises licence can be viewed at Appendix A from page 5, and the review application submitted to the licensing authority on the 1st of April can be seen at Appendix B from page 17. 5 representations have been received from local residents and the Environmental Protection Team on the grounds of the prevention of public nuisance and protection of children from harm, supporting the review application submitted by the local resident. These can be found in Appendix C from page 25. The licence holder has submitted some additional evidence late yesterday afternoon, and this has been circulated to the reviewer, Environmental Protection, the panel members, and I believe the people who've made representations this morning. So the guidance under section 182 of the Licensing Act sets out for reviewing premises licenses represent a key protection for the local community where problems associated with the licensing objectives occur after the grant or variation of a premises licence. It is ultimately the committee's decision, and after all the evidence has been presented, the committee can take the following steps. Modification of licence conditions, so adding, modifying or removing conditions, exclusion of a licensable activity, so this could include limiting hours or activities in all or part of the premises, removal of the designated premises supervisor, suspension of the licence for a period not exceeding 3 months, revocation of the licence, or do nothing. In deciding which of these powers to invoke, it is expected that licensing authorities should, so far as possible, seek to establish the cause or causes of the concerns that the representations identify. The remedial action taken should generally be directed at these causes and should also be no more than an appropriate and proportionate response to address the causes of concern that instigated the review. Thank you.
David, it's normally we do this. Is there anything? Is this something that you can say in your representations, or is it a specific question?
It's a specific question. There's reference being made to a bundle, including documents from Environmental Protection, which I have not seen any bundle. I haven't been provided anything from Environmental Protection in this matter.
Okay. Okay.
Is there a bundle?
No, the bundle was from you. I said from the licence holder, which has been circulated to.
Sorry, you referenced some representations from Environmental Protection?
Yeah, the representation from Environmental Protection was submitted to you. You have received a copy of that.
I've not seen that.
You've not seen it?
No, I have representations, obviously, I have the application, I have representations from the other residents that have been named on the call, but I don't have anything from Environmental Protection in this matter. Obviously, there are separate noise abatement proceedings with Environmental Protection, but I haven't seen anything from Environmental Protection in this application.
Okay.
So I just want to be clear that if there's reference being made to documents which are now going to be discussed as part of the committee,
okay.
My concern is that there are some that I've not seen.
Tim, is there anything? I know you're here for a colleague. Do you know anything about any additional stuff that's been made on top of the noise abatement issue?
I'm only aware of the statement supplied by Carmelo, which will be discussed today, so I'm aware of no additional information.
Okay, when did we, do you know when we received that, Frankie?
That would have been sent by licensing.
Okay, so...
Sorry, I'm just trying to have a look. Just bear with me a second. I'll see if I can find when that was sent. Okay.
Thanks, Frankie. Yeah, we might have to have an adjournment, but let's see what Sarah comes up with.
I mean, it's named supporting 4, I think. Representation on behalf of Environmental Protection Team. You definitely haven't received that, you don't think? No. Okay. Well,
Is that in the supplement?
Received
supporting 4.
Yeah, we got an email yesterday at 12:53 with S4 in it. I'm not sure how widely that was shared outside of us councillors.
Who is that sent by?
Should normally be.
It was sent by Sean Hughes at 12:53 yesterday to yourself, Julie, me, Kerry, and Frankie. I'm not sure how widely sent it was to other people.
Oh yeah, 12:53. Oh yes, EP doc, yeah. I mean, it's very short. It's like page and a half. It's just it's more or less a kind of well, not a diary, but just a timeline of what's happened. Is that if
Hello,
David
sorry, I can see it was sent on the 5th of May.
Oh, 5th of May. Oh, okay.
With supporting Rep 5. It's titled S4 Environmental Protection, and it was sent to it was sent to your email address, David. We've got proof of that here.
Was it sent to all of us?
What I have is, and this is obviously, if you've read my submissions from yesterday, this is central to that. But the documents that I have, and I assume that there was going to be a bundle of everything provided, but anyway, it's been done in this piecemeal fashion. So what I have is Rita's application on the 1st of April, representations from Jonathan and Victoria on the 14th of April, and then representations from Mary and her manager on the 5th of May.
Yeah, and then we have an email here. I can see it clearly was sent to you on the 5th of May at 16:31 with S5 and S4 environmental protection, and also the notice of hearing that you're sent to notify you of the hearing. There is a link to the panel report which has everything in it that you can, that's sort of in a, like you say, in a report fashion, so it's a lot easier to read. There is a link to that, directions to a link to that on the Democratic Services intranet site.
Were we sent that, Sarah? Or
yeah, you've been sent the S4.
Yeah, we sent it the other day, but were we sent it on the 5th of May?
You don't get sent it on the 5th of May. You don't get sent the representations. No, you get sent them all in one go.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because I'm not sure if we even had the if we were even on the panel by then. But yeah, that's fine. So is this? I mean, I've literally found it, and it's literally a page and a half, and it's like a timeline.
Yes, that's
which
right.
I think would. Yeah, with that, there's nothing else, is there, Tim?
No, that's all there is.
Yeah. So, and you can't find that, David. Have you looked in your? No, you're on mute. Yeah. You're on mute. Yeah.
Pardon me. I haven't looked. I don't have it. Is there a way to?
Well, that's weird. If you had the other papers, did you have the other papers at all?
Okay. I do
if
have.
If they were all sent in one email, then I'm not sure what. Okay.
Well, no, they weren't. So we don't send the representations in one email. We send them when we get them as and when. So the that I've said was sent separately on the 5th of May at 16:31. So S5 and S4.
Okay,
because
so
some of them
can
are
you-
received, you know, a long time ago. So we send
Right,
them
okay.
when we get them
We
to the
can-
applicant.
Can you send them back to David, and
Yep.
we'll have
I
10
can forward
minute
this
adjournment.
If you can
Yeah,
forward that
forward
to me
it.
now, I have that account open now, so it should just pop up in my inbox.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
And I'll look at that while we proceed.
There you go. I've just forwarded that to you.
So do you need 10 minutes to read it, or?
I've just got it. I'm happy for you to proceed while you do that. Sorry, just there's another. Is there another representation of somebody named Barnaby Birch?
Yes, but they're not attending today, so
Okay, fine.
that would have, yeah, that would have been read by the panel, and then.
Okay. I'm happy for you to proceed. I don't want to waste.
Okay, so John and Kerry, have you got any things that you'd like to ask Sarah?
Yeah, one question, please. Thanks, Julie. Hi, Sarah. So just reading through the current licence, can you just confirm that the licensable activities are the on sale of alcohol as detailed in point 1, and then for the late night refreshment, which is a licensable activity, so that's half an hour after each of those times. So for Sundays other than Christmas, etc., that'll be the hours of 11 till midnight is licensable. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Am I
so
reading
it's
that correctly?
this is a very old license that was converted over from the Magistrates Court. So, excuse me, the alcohol hours are as per,
As
like you
stated,
say.
yeah.
So it's easier to see it on page 6.
Okay.
Monday to Saturday, 10 till midnight, Sunday till 23:30, and then, like you say, that the late night refreshment is half an hour after that. And then regulated entertainment is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sunday, 7 p.m. till 1 a.m. Although deregulation doesn't start until 11 p.m. So, but we're not. Yeah. So that's right.
Well, thanks.
Okay.
Thanks for clarifying.
Okay, Kerry.
No, I had the similar question, so that was great. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to get this clarified because, as you said, it's quite an old license. David, is there anything you'd like to? Well, you've asked Sarah. So, have you got any other questions you'd like to ask Sarah? No, at the moment.
No.
Okay. Okay. Rita.
No questions.
Okay. Mary.
No question.
Okay. Victoria. No. Nope. Jonathan.
No, thank you.
And Tim. That's great. Okay. Right. It's a long time since I've done one of these, so I've got to go back to the running order. Okay. Right, now we are going to I'm handing over now to Rita, who is the applicant for this, and for her statement.
Yes, so I thank you so much, first of all, for this hearing. I sent the application for a licensing review because of this public nuisance that has been going on for over a year now. It started in April 2025, and at the beginning, I didn't take any action. I didn't really know where it was coming from. And then I contacted my letting agency in June, at the beginning of June. They told me they couldn't do anything because it was from the restaurant next to my building. I then contacted David and Chin Chin directly at the beginning of August 2025. And we did exchange some emails where he told me there was scaffolding in front of my window. So he said, maybe it's also due to the scaffolding. causing, maybe like changing the way that the flu is operating. And then at the end of September, beginning of October, the scaffolding was removed and the noise actually got louder. I did ask for constant updates. David told me that he was actually talking to the fan installer, but they said that there was nothing wrong, that it was operating as it should. And after a while, there was nothing that could have been done. The fan installer was actually refusing to come back. And so at the beginning of December, after I told him that this was really, affecting my daily life and I couldn't use my bedroom anymore, and it had been quite a few months at this point, I decided to go to environmental health. So I submitted a form, and in December, after they came to my flat to actually assess the situation quite a few times, they then established that it was a statutory nuisance on the 19th of January, but then that was appealed by David. And the noise, hasn't changed. It's still quite loud. It still operates the same. As of, April 1st, when I submitted the licensing review request, it was quite loud, constant, 10, 12 hours a day from Tuesday to Saturday. And then, of course, sometimes on Sunday, like I said in my application, for example, on Mother's Day. There was supposed to be a hearing at the magistrate court at the end of April. I believe it was April 27th or 29th. But then David asked for an adjournment, and so that's been rescheduled to June. So then here we are. Since, the beginning of April, since I submitted the license review request, the working hours of the fan have definitely changed. They have definitely reduced the operating hours. It is still quite loud. I'm still not able to use my bedroom when the fan is on. I still need to play music while I'm in the living room or the kitchen because it's still very loud and I can hear it everywhere in the flat. And now with the temperature rising, it is quite a challenge because I would like to keep my window open, and I also have to wait for the fan to turn off before I go to sleep, because I cannot stay in the bedroom otherwise. And that sometimes stays on until 11 p.m. In the past, it has been on after 11 p.m. as well, or before 9 a.m., which would wake me up. A couple of times it happened. I also saw the noise diary that was submitted by David yesterday afternoon, that I received yesterday afternoon. There are a few days missing, which I have in my own noise diary, and I can say that those are also the days when it was louder. And it had happened now that a couple of times that my partner or myself went downstairs to actually ask to turn off the vent. And when we went downstairs, the restaurant was absolutely empty. They were just cleaning. When my partner went downstairs, it was past 11. When I went, I believe it was probably 10 days ago, it was 22:20. But the fan was on and the restaurant was absolutely empty, and it was a Wednesday night. And so this is why I am applying for this, requesting this license review, because this has affected my life for over a year now. It is affecting my mental health. It is affecting my routine. It is affecting my sleep. And even when it's not on, or at least at the time before April, before they reduced the hours, it was always on my mind, when are they going to turn it on? So this is why I am submitting this license review request, because of public nuisance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. John and Kerry, have you any questions of Rita?
Suppose just at this stage, what hours thanks for all the representation. What hours are the fan sort of operating at the moment? You said it's been reduced since when this first started back in last April.
Yes, so I noticed that now they only turn it on, maybe on Wednesdays they turn it on around 12, even though they don't do lunch service on Wednesdays, but it's maybe meal prep, I don't know. And then they also turn it on then after 5, but of course, because the restaurant needs to operate until late hours, it stays on until 10:30 p.m. 10:45. It really depends on the day, but it has been significantly reduced.
Sorry, Rita, do they only use it on a Wednesday now, are you saying? They don't use it on any other day?
No, sorry, they do use it pretty much every day. Maybe not on Tuesdays these days, like maybe in May, I didn't really hear it on Tuesdays, which has been really nice. But yeah, it's usually every day. But again, it's just now not as constant since I submitted this request.
Okay, thank you. Kerry.
Rita, can you tell me, I know you've lived there, well, first of all, sorry, can you tell me how long you have lived in Holland Mews? And also, did you have any issue at all with the previous extractor fan that was installed at Chin?
So I'm actually on Western Road, I'm on Hill House, and I moved in January, at the end of January 2025. I didn't have any issues before, even with the scaffolding. They were doing some work on the building. I didn't notice anything. Yeah, so I didn't have any issues at all. It just suddenly one day in the evening, I heard this noise and then it never went away.
Thank you.
Okay. Rita, sorry, just a question. Obviously you went to environmental protection. Who advised, how did you come to make this application for the license to be reviewed? Were you advised to do that by anybody, or because it's quite an unusual one?
Yes. So after the abatement notice was served and I was told that David had appealed, I was quite upset because this is affecting me, as I said. I love this flat. I didn't want to move out. And so I talked to solicitors, and one of them told me that the easiest way and the cheapest way would be to ask for a license review.
Okay, so they didn't offer you any advice on other measures that you could have taken?
Sorry, say it again.
They didn't advise you on any other routes that you could have taken?
No. I mean, they said that the only other way would be to take Chin and David to court. But
okay,
that
so they did suggest going to planning for planning enforcement?
Not this solicitor, no.
Okay, thank you. Kerry.
Sorry, can I also ask, would you say that residents in the area have any other issue with Chin as a business, or any other businesses in the area? And can I also ask for clarification on what it is you would like to get from this review?
So for me personally, I don't have any issues with any other business or Chin, apart from this noise, of course, but nothing else. And again, this is also why I tried to find other ways. Before I went to environmental health, it took me 9 months because I didn't want to go to the council because I thought that we could fix it, between us. And I don't have any other issue with any other business. I am aware that I live in a noisy area. I don't mind the traffic. It's just very normal. I don't mind the restaurant operating or, whatever noise I hear from downstairs when they are working, because I know they're working. But it's also not this constant tinnitus-like sound. So it doesn't affect me. This is something completely different. And it's the only thing really that that really affects my life. at this point, what I would want is either a suspension of the license until this has been fixed, because again, it has been going on for over a year. There has been other residents that have talked to David and Chin Chin as early as May 2025. I waited a little longer, but even then, you know, since beginning of August, at least for me personally, he has been aware of my issue. I also sent him a video showing him the noise in my bedroom. So I think it has been long enough, and the measures that he he showed and he sent yesterday, they show that they were actually done in May 2026. So, you know, this month. It has been over a year now, and this is why I would either like a suspension or a modification, anything that can be done before, while, you know, until this is solved.
Thank you.
Tim, is there
You're on
anything you'd
mute.
like to ask? Yeah. Is it? Oh, sorry, John.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, thanks.
Just
No,
put your
that's
hand
okay.
up. Sorry, Tim. Yeah.
No, thanks, Rita. And just to elaborate on what you said, you potentially like a sort of suspension of the license. Is that the late night element of the license, which is where they're selling hot food past 11 p.m., or are you advocating for their alcohol license to be suspended?
I would say, I don't know the specifics, but I would say any that would allow me to not have this constant noise during the day and during the night, because yeah.
Okay, because obviously, if hypothetically the alcohol license was suspended, they could still operate the kitchen, have a fan on, sell hot foods up until 11 p.m. or later with a late night refreshment. So I'm not sure if them losing an alcohol license would get the resolution you desire. Whereas if you're more advocating that they're not allowed to have a late night refreshment selling hot food, then that may be more of a resolution, because it'll mean the fan would be turned off earlier. Although ultimately, I know that you just don't want the fan to be noisy. You don't mind them using it. You just don't want a noisy fan. So I think, so
Yeah.
just to really just elaborate on those points.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I meant. So serving, you know, hot food, sorry, late nights, that's probably what I'm asking for, because then that way they wouldn't have to use the fan. Yeah.
That's it. But ultimately, you know, you just want the, you know, ideally the fan just to be running at any time, as long as it's not disturbing you. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, if it is white noise, like any other fan that I've seen, because at this point, you know, I notice every single fan around Brighton, it's usually white noise, which doesn't bother me. I know that they have a business. I know that they have to work. And even with the window open, it does not bother me. But this is a constant low intensity noise. So if they can solve that, I have no issue with them operating. But this hasn't been the case.
Thank you. Rebecca.
Yeah, through you. I was just going to clarify, so you don't need a license to serve hot food before 11 p.m. And you need one afterwards. I don't know what impact taking away or modifying the alcohol license would have on the business. And maybe the alcohol is linked to the food in that it has to be served ancillary to table meals. So so there may be some next link there. Also, I just wanted to clarify that the court hearing that you said was adjourned, this is for the appeal against the abatement notice, adjourned in April. That was a preliminary hearing, I understand, a directions hearing, is that right? And then that's been adjourned till June. So it's not the final hearing that's adjourned till June. Is that right? I don't know if anyone else can help with that, but that's my understanding.
Perhaps Tim?
Unfortunately, I wasn't involved in that. I can check our statement to check. Hold on.
Okay. David, can you perhaps
Yeah, sure. The date, which is listed for, I think Bruder's right, I think it was the 27th of April, was the pre-trial hearing for that appeal, and that was adjourned. That was agreed by both parties to adjourn that date.
Have you got a new date yet? A new firm date?
I think that date's not been listed yet. It's been adjourned to a date no earlier than there is a June date. Sorry, let me see if I can find that for you, just for clarity. 22nd of June.
Okay, so relatively short period of time before you get a result on that.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Well, it's not. It's a pre-trial review, isn't it? I think. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I see. So it's not the final.
Not the final hearing, no.
Okay. So when will that be? Could be any time. Okay.
I honestly, I don't know, and it's not fair. That's not my area of expertise, so I couldn't give a relevant estimate on what that time would be.
Okay. Yes, we know the courts are very backed up at the moment. Okay. Now I'm over. I'd like Tim to ask any questions if he has any on clarification from Rita.
No, I think the statement for Carmelo covers our investigation fully, and obviously I've been to Rita's premises and have heard the noise myself with other officers. So, yeah, thank you.
Okay, so either Jonathan, Victoria, or Mary, is there anything you'd like to ask Rita about? So, questions specifically to her rather than your own experiences. No.
Questions for Rita.
No, okay. So, David, is there anything you'd like to ask Rita?
Yes, so it's only really one question, which is in relation to two pieces of information that we referenced in the application and in Rita's submission just then. There's reference to a noise diary and reference to a video, and I just want to confirm that neither of those documents or pieces of information or evidence have been served in these proceedings.
Sorry, you didn't receive those?
I've not seen it. I've never seen a noise diary.
No, I did not submit them. I wrote in my application that I have them and I can share them, but they were not submitted. But I did send it to you, David, in October, the video that I was mentioning.
But
Okay.
It's not in these proceedings.
Well, I think yeah. I mean, you've mentioned it Rita's mentioned it in her statement. I mean, are you saying you did receive the video?
I did receive a video, but I don't know if that video is the evidence, the supposed evidence, which is being referred to in these proceedings. And it's very clear from my submissions that you would have received yesterday what our view is on the lack of evidence that has been served in these proceedings and what that means for our right. No, I won't go into obviously our submission,
Okay.
but what it means for our right to a fair trial.
Okay, but it's something that you are aware of. It's not a new. It's not.
You're
it's
aware
not
of
new.
a video.
Yeah. Okay.
I've never
Okay.
seen a noise diary.
Okay, Rita, did you send the noise diary as well, or just the video?
I didn't send it. No, not to David.
Oh, okay,
I didn't
but
send
it's
any
in the.
noise diary.
Okay.
I sent it to environmental health, but no noise diary to David, just the video.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I'm going to refer back to Rebecca now.
Well, I think it's clear the noise diary and the video aren't part of the evidence in these proceedings, but there are there's the Environmental Protection Officer's submission and the other residents. So, arguably that is evidence, but obviously the panel will decide on the weight or and having considered everything in it fully.
Okay, thank you. That's cleared that up. Okay, now I'm going to move on to the other residents. So Victoria, you've got your hand up. Would you like to make your sort of representations now, please?
Oh, and sorry, I'm not sure if my camera's working or not because I'm in the kitchen to control the heat for my newborn and it's not got great Wi-Fi down here.
Okay.
A
We
really
can
small
hear
point.
you. We can hear you, by the way. Okay.
Just a really small point on the evidence before I make my submission. Both mine and Rita's submissions, because I've read them, they were online, reference this evidence and reference certain evidence and say we can provide this on request. That obviously was available to David, and no one has requested that we provide any of this evidence, which we would have, but it says in our submissions various points can be provided. Also, we took that the evidence was established that there is a statutory nuisance because the council has found a statutory nuisance. So it seemed beside the point to us to have to establish that there was a statutory nuisance when the council has independently already established that fact. That said, I have a partially completed noise diary which has been shared with environmental health in the past, which I could also share. So I just wanted to make that point, that that's why I imagine all of us didn't include that. So in terms of the impact on me, I moved into this house of October of last year, and I almost immediately became aware of the noise. It operated at really strange times of day for a restaurant. So as Rita's referenced, I would often hear it in the morning, first thing when I was sitting in my lounge setting. It would operate till late at night. The first time I noticed it was because it was going on till 11:30 at night and I was struggling to sleep. It's loud in all rooms of the house, but it's loudest in the room that will be my child's nursery when he moves in there in 6 months. He's currently only 6 weeks old. That is of huge concern to me because of the impact that it could have on him. And I submitted in my evidence that there's quite strong evidence in like clinical studies and others of the impact of low frequency noise on children and of course on the well-being of residents. In terms of how it is in our house, it's audible in all rooms, including over the TV with the windows closed. That was before we got to this heat wave. So I'm obviously concerned about that, particularly when I'm trying to manage the temperature of my child. So when I first moved in, I contacted environmental health and David, and obviously spoke to other neighbours and became aware of the fact that this issue had been known about for months, but had not had any action taken, which was of course of concern to me. Environmental health did visit my house, but unfortunately there was severe weather several of the days they visited, and rainstorms, which meant a statutory nuisance wasn't able to be established at my property until Rita later kind of got involved. In terms of the impact on me, I have a partially completed noise diary, which I'm really happy to share, which has documented the hours and the impact, but I haven't completed that because a statutory nuisance was found while that was ongoing. What I can say is that it's kind of affected how we enjoy the house. So we already had to spend money on soundproofing curtains and things like that for some of the rooms. I've looked into much more expensive options for the baby's nursery, which I can't really afford, but I'm concerned about the long-term impact on him and his sleep. It's caused me migraines. When I was pregnant, a migraine is a symptom of a really serious pregnancy complication. So I actually more than once contacted the NHS to see if I should get checked out because of the migraines I was experiencing based on this. And it's also caused me kind of anxiety and worry and stress knowing that it won't be dealt with, and the delay in dealing with it, despite the fact that it's been established for years, documented that it's impacting on multiple residents, has contributed to that concern for me. And so then it really impacts on the enjoyment of the property that since we've moved in. I guess a final point for me is that, you know, it does seem that the fan runs quite a lot when there's no business need. So I have proof, which I mentioned in my submission, and I'd be happy to share, of the fan running in the middle of the day when the kitchen was completely empty and no one was in there. And I've kind of anecdotally noticed that happen quite a few times. And that's really, again, concerning for me, that it seems to outweigh the need for the business, the impact on the residents. So in terms of what resolution I would want, I agree with everything Rita has said. I think ultimately, what we all want is for the restaurant to take steps to address the noise without us all having to wait for the outcome of a court process, which could be indefinite, while at the same time it continues to impact quite heavily on our daily lives. And as I've said, my child will be moving into his nursery in the not too distant future, where it's really, really loud in there, and I'm quite concerned about him. And also in summer, in a heat wave, not being able to open the windows is really quite distressing.
Thank you. Thank you. John and Kerry, would you like to ask Victoria any questions?
No questions from me, thank you.
Okay.
So same, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, okay, right, that's fine. Mary and Jonathan, is there anything you'd like to ask Victoria? No? Sarah?
No.
Sarah?
No, thank you. No.
Okay, Tim? No, okay.
No, thank you.
Okay, so David, would you like to ask any questions of Victoria?
Yeah, just one question at the end there. Victoria mentioned that alleged that the fan is running when there's no business need and there's nobody in there. I'd just like to understand how that's ascertained and how that's known.
The day and the kitchen was empty. There were no signs of prep. There were no customers, and yet
Sorry, say again. I missed the start of that, Victoria. Apologies.
Simply heard the fan when I was in my house, which was quite distressing. I happened to be popping out. I walked past the restaurant and I observed that the kitchen was empty. No one was in there. There was no signs of preparation going on. There were no guests. There were no staff, and yet the fan was on full blast to the point that I became aware of it while sitting in my house. And again, that's anecdotally happened to me several times. I've popped out, noticed that the fan is on, walked past the kitchen, empty. And David, which I believe was public, and mentioned that I was happy to share that if needed.
But you are aware that there are two kitchens in the restaurant. There's a basement kitchen for prep, which you wouldn't have seen, which is back to us.
I wasn't aware of that. All the same, it seems to be running when the kitchen upstairs at least is empty.
Okay. Anything else, David? You've turned your mic off, so okay.
No, thank you.
Okay, so excuse me, Mary, would you like to make your representations?
Thank you, Councillor. We have been beside Sinton for 8.5 years, 7.5 years, absolutely glorious, kumbaya, no noise, no problems. I've eaten there and many of our patrons, our clients, our patrons. May last year, we started to be aware of a very loud vibrating noise coming through the walls. Myself and my audiologist went round to speak to David, and I said, have you had a new fan fitted? And he said, yes. And I said, have you had a more powerful fan put in or like for like? And he said, no, like for like. And I said, well, I don't see how that's possible, David, because one day it's fine, you have a new fan fitted and it's making a huge din. After that, it became quite difficult to talk to David, so I mainly talked to Jamie, who introduced himself as the head chef. He came into our premises, went to the back, and he said, oh, it's very loud. So that conquers any, fact that there's no proof of things. It sort of rolled on for a long time then. We did have scaffolding up the back, covering our building, and our good faith was still there. So we both agreed with Jamie that perhaps it was as a result of the scaffolding. So it rolled on till late autumn. Just before Christmas, Jamie informed me that they were having a scaffolding tower put up to see what was the problem. Just after Christmas, 2 weeks after Christmas, I'd heard nothing. I approached David, who wasn't terribly receptive, let's put it that way, and had no information on it. Then I got in contact with Rita, because Carmela had told us that as a business, he couldn't help us at all. He couldn't help a business against another business. It was only if it was interrupting your residential rights, which seemed a little unfair at the time, bearing in mind that we pay business rates. So we'd all but given up hope when Rita and Victoria came to see me, and it went on from there. Now, come the end of April, beginning of May, Jamie had said he would try to monitor the use of the fans, which I don't like. I've worked in a commercial kitchen and I wouldn't want any chef to have to, suffer because of a noise complaint. But he was true to his word. He tried to keep it off. He said, I only have it on if there's a fire or if there's bad smells. And so it seemed to be going quite well. First 2 weeks of May, coincidentally the same time as the license review, were quite quiet. And I thought maybe we have done it and they just haven't told us. Maybe they've done something. But then we come to the diary that they have kept of their fans. This time last week, 12 o'clock the 20th, there was the most horrendous noise coming back again. My audiologist heard it. It was in Clinic 1, Clinic 2, and it went on for about an hour. So I went downstairs and the fan was just hammering away. Like Rita says, when just the bottom fan is on, which I believe is for the downstairs kitchen, it's a very acceptable whooshing white noise. This was the top fan on as well, and it clunk, clunk, clunk. I could hear people in the kitchen, they laughing and joking, thankfully. And then about 1 o'clock, it went down to about half that level, but that is not mentioned on this diary note here. It says it went on at 2:08. So it didn't, it was on at 12. We have tried, as I say, I want Sinton to survive and do well. But we are a business as well, and especially being in the hearing business, we need our peace when we're doing testing. And we worked alongside for 7.5 years, and all of this has come about by, forgive me, David, but I believe David's stubborn refusal to just open up the fan vents and prove that he has put in the same fan. Well, and as I say, I'm not Stephen Hawkins, but I believe it's a more powerful one, because the restaurant there before was a Thai restaurant and they didn't have a kitchen upstairs. Now, I do understand when you've got people sitting upstairs with a kitchen functioning, yeah, maybe the smaller fan doesn't work, but I'm absolutely 100% certain the new fan has been put in. Jamie also told me that the original installers came from London and they had ghosted them. They couldn't get in contact with them at all. Now, it appears he told Rita that the installer had told him that it was fitted correctly. And now we've got this Northern Fan Supplies who are based in Manchester, but delivered the invoice to Hove. So I take it they're probably nothing to do with the original installers. I would like it a condition, and again, people are asking why we're going for the license. We're not. We're going for, you know, environmental health couldn't help us, planning couldn't help us. This is one of the few ways we can get this sorted, and it's a simple measure. It's a very simple measure.
Mary, can I just say, I checked with planning because I, you know, that's my background, and
yeah.
But they have got an open enforcement case, but they're waiting for the outcome of the noise abatement hearing.
Okay, I mean,
I mean, the thing is, planning enforcement is quite clunky. It takes a long time, but they have got an open case on this one because planning permission wasn't applied for to put this new unit up. So, but it's not a licensing issue. But I just wanted to tell you that you know.
Well, what they told me,
because that's completely new information to me.
What, that you didn't, that you needed planning permission?
No, that there is an open file from planning, because someone from planning came out in the summer of last year and asked about the details of what had happened. I gave them details of what happened in terms of replacement of the fan and the controller, photos of what was there previous to that replacement work being done, photos of what happened after. And I have an email which shows that the file has been closed. So this is, it's prejudicial. It's prejudicial to me and my business to be raising that in these proceedings, which are not relevant at all to.
I agree, but I just wanted to, you know, Mary said that planning, she talked to planning. Planning couldn't help her, but I found out yesterday. And I know that Rebecca's going to tell me off for raising it, but I just wanted you to know, you know.
Completely prejudicial.
Can I just say, it would be very difficult for planning to look from the outside. The flue has not been changed.
Planning has been in the back.
Sorry, David, may I speak?
Anyway, I think
the flue has not changed.
I think the thing is, we are not allowed to take planning into consideration at all. And I know that's what Rebecca is going to tell us. So, but this is just like a sidebar that, you know, there is still an open case, but it's nothing to do with licensing. We are looking at what we can do with, you know, how we can, what measures we can take to sort this out. And I think we've been told quite clearly that, you know, it's very limited what we can do.
Yeah, just to confirm that planning issues should be disregarded because they're not relevant to this panel.
Absolutely. So it wasn't meant, it was a piece of information for Mary.
Yeah, can I ask though, when we have air conditioning units put in the back, my estate manager, we have to do noise control on it. We can't just put air conditioning units anywhere. Where's the security for us from next door?
Sorry, that's
well, yes. I mean, if we can't fit air conditioning units wherever we want, we have to have a volume measure and see how loud they are. Where is the same for a flue? I mean, in the Argus articles, there were lots of comments underneath, which were quite interesting. Could have been put in back to front. That makes an awful lot of noise. Could be too large. And I wondered if we could just possibly investigate that. I
think that's something that, you know, when it's David's turn to put his case forward, you could ask him that. Victoria, how about, have you got another question or did you put your hand down?
I did have a question, but maybe it's not relevant for this section. I wanted to ask about the scope of enforcement that could be taken. So my understanding was that potentially the licence could be reviewed if it was violating the terms, aka public nuisance, whether or not amending the sale of alcohol would actually stop the noise itself. And my other understanding was that sometimes modifications or requirements can be built into a licence, e.g. on noise requirements, to try and make it a licence viable to prevent a statutory nuisance. But I don't want to sidebar this part of the agenda if there's an appropriate time to ask that.
Okay, basically, well, I think that's something that perhaps Rebecca can advise us on when, you know, later on, because yeah, what you said about what we can do, because really this is all about an alcohol licence and a late night food licence. So, which is very unfortunate that's, you know, from your point of view, it's very unfortunate that they're the only things that we're allowed to consider this on. Okay, so now, John and Kerry, have you got any other questions? No.
Thank you.
No, I think I've already asked you, haven't I? Sarah, is there anything you'd like to ask?
No, thank you.
Tim?
No, thank you.
Okay, so Jonathan, would you like to put your representations forward, please?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very similar to the other representations in terms of we noticed around last Easter quite a significant change. And just to give you the context, which I think others have shared, we live in a mixed use area. We have a pub. We used to have Grubs, takeaway burger, supermarket, coffee shops, and you know, hundreds of residents without any issue. And indeed, there wasn't an issue with Chin Chin. I think the replacement, the decision to replace that fan is what the main issue is, because it's affected, you know, over 15 residents that, you know, that I speak to directly about it for up to 15 hours a day. Sometimes 8:30 has been registered before in the morning, and it is the low frequency noise that can be heard. So I'm in Holland News behind. So we're kind of sheltered a little bit by buildings from the noise, but it's the low frequency noise that you can hear it at the bottom of the news, which is 60, 70 meters away. So it's quite material impact on our lives. Again, like everyone else, you know, we were told by Dave that scaffolding was the issue. We didn't think that was the case, and it wasn't the case. We were told the fan installer is coming back, but we didn't hear anything about that. A number of residents, you know, approached environmental health. We completed diaries. You know, we tried to speak to David. There was an email chain with a number of residents with David. We haven't been able to concentrate. You know, haven't been able to work from home. Struggling to sleep at night. My daughter has neurodiversity and sensory issues. Her bedroom's on the front, and she's considerably impacted by this. So it's just really disappointing that we've got to this point that it's taken 13 months, and it's just a fan was replaced, and that was the decision that was taken by the licensee, and it's affected so many people. We're here now instead of being at work and doing other things. So that's the disappointing aspect here. I guess just to sort of pick up on, some of the documents that were shared yesterday, my view is that the licensees failed to prevent a public nuisance despite knowing that a new extractor fan was causing their public nuisance since April of last year. The evidence, which if it isn't been circulated, we can happily circulate it. There's email correspondence between the licensee and several residents in the Mews. There's complaints, obviously, from a neighbouring business. There are a number of environmental health investigations, which include a number of different diaries at different points in the year. And there's also video footage as well, which we're happy to share. The second is we feel that the licensees failed to take responsibility for causing this public nuisance, despite environmental protection issuing a noise nuisance abatement notice in January of this year. And the evidence is obviously that decision to challenge the council's decision and then to choose to defer the magistrate's hearing, which again just extends the pain and the issue that dozens and dozens of people have been living with for over 13 months now. And I feel that, the licensees also failed to take any material action to prevent a public nuisance until what we've seen in the documents released from May of this year from Northern Van Supplies and the other supplier. For me, it's always been, is it a like-for-like replacement? What we've asked for and what we've never got, and we did this via the environmental health officer, was what were the specifications of the previous van that we'd happily lived with for several years, and why was it inadequate? And why did it need to be changed? And then what are the specifications for the new fan? And why is there a claim being brought against the installer of that new fan, which I understand is the case. So for me, that's the heart of the problem here for us. I don't know if this is in the realms of a license review, but obviously health and safety has been brought up by the licensee as a defence in terms of serious repercussions for health and safety of staff and customers in restricting or stopping the use of this extraction system. So that raises the concern that were there health and safety issues before this new extractor fan was fitted, because this is clearly more powerful. So yeah, we're just very frustrated, and I don't think, just to sort of echo some of the other representations, I don't think a license can continue if it is causing a statutory nuisance, and whether that is only in relation to alcohol, but they're clearly operating in the first instance in the knowledge they're creating a statutory nuisance, and there's all the evidence to support that. They haven't really taken any action. They've shown no care or concern for their residents, and they're choosing to delay any action through the environmental health claim with the Magistrates Court. So yeah, very frustrating.
Thank you. Does that conclude your representations, Jonathan?
Thank you very much.
Okay, no problem. Kerry and John, is there anything you'd like to ask Jonathan?
No further questions from me, thank you.
Okay. I'm just trying to think. No, I don't think there's anything from me either. I think you obviously what you've said accords with what others have said. Victoria, Rita, and Mary, is there anything you'd like to ask Jonathan? Or okay, Tim.
Nothing for me, thank you.
Okay, Sarah, is there anything you'd like to ask Jonathan?
No, thank you.
Okay, David, is there anything you'd like to ask?
Yes, just a couple of quick questions. Jonathan, you said that you'd asked council you wanted specs of the fan that had been replaced and specs for the fan that had then replaced that failed fan. Did you ask for those from council, from the environmental health team?
Yes.
And what response did you get?
That it just wasn't forthcoming. So I don't know.
It wasn't forthcoming, or they don't have it?
I don't know. We didn't
Sorry,
really get a response.
I didn't hear the question because you were looking the other way. Sorry, could you repeat the question? Sorry.
My question was that Jonathan said that the residents wanted to have the spec of the specifications of the fan which was replaced in April 2025.
Yep.
So the outgoing fan, and the specifications for the replacement fan. And the reason for my question is that these have been provided to the environmental health team. Perhaps Timothy can confirm that. They've had those since the beginning of last summer. If they've not been provided, I don't know if that's because whether that's a data protection thing, or whether they've not been requested directly, or what. But the suggestion that these have not been provided for the relevant parties is what I'm asking about.
Is it something that you would have been asked to supply as part of the evidence towards the noise abatement notice?
No, it was something which we voluntarily supplied to environmental health in our discussions with them from at the very early stage.
Okay, so Tim, could you respond to that? Would you normally ask for comparators on specifications?
Yeah, we'd all obviously seek evidence of the specification of the installation. I would need to look through the case notes, which I have on my screen, with regards to that information exchange, because obviously I wasn't involved in the initial investigation. So thank you. Okay,
so Jonathan, presumably you asked for that information from Carmelo?
Yeah. So I mean, if it indeed it sounds like it was supplied, if it could be circulated, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, Tim, is it a data protection thing? Oh, where's he gone?
Just here, sorry, I was looking away. I see no reason why it would be a data protection, but obviously that would be answerable by our Freedom of Information team in terms of any public releases. But there doesn't seem to be any specifics there. It's a industry piece of kit. So,
okay. So I think really for our purposes today, it's not something that we can make a judgment on at all. But it's just helpful to know where the various pieces of information have been put and not sort of distributed or so on. So thank you for raising that, Jonathan. Sorry, Mary, is there something you'd like to ask?
Yes, to what extent, sorry, David, what would you have produced to show what was in there beforehand? Hello, David?
Oh, am I answering questions now? Sorry.
No, I just was asking, what would you have produced? Yes, I can see that you would show an invoice.
Fan and the specification for the fan which replaced it.
Sorry?
The technical specifications for the fan which was taken out in April 2025 and the fan which went in.
And that's on the headed paper of the people that installed it, is it? Or is it?
No, it would come from the manufacturer of the fan. Just like you'd have a specification for a laptop or light or whatever.
But how would they know what was taken out? That's my point.
How would who know what was taken out?
The manufacturers of the new fan.
They wouldn't.
And what I'm asking is, on what piece of paper, invoice, is it showing the specification of the fan that was taken out?
It's on the. There are photos of the fan that was taken out. I was there. This has been my business since day one, as you're well aware. And so the fan which was installed in late 2017 was obviously part of the building works for the restaurant at that time. I had the specification for that to hand, which I provided to council when this process started, along with the specification for the fan which replaced it in April 2025.
And they were like for like?
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan specialist, but the suggestion which is being made, again, coming back to my central point of the lack of evidence in this proceedings, there's allegations about the fan being clearly more powerful or not like for like or upside down or anything like that. Like there's no evidence for the committee to look at in order to make findings of fact on any of those points.
But wouldn't you find it strange that after 7.5 years, absolute peace and bliss, would you not want to?
I don't know if that's what this hearing is for, Mary. I'm sorry.
No, well, fair enough. I'm just raising a point there. Yeah.
Mary,
Fans on now, actually. Is there a lunchtime service today?
Oh, sorry, what? Are you asking me now?
The fans on now, is there a lunchtime service today?
It's not, again, to dispel this
I can hear
repeated allegation. The fan doesn't go on just when people are in the restaurant. The fan goes on when the gas is being used, when heat and steam and smoke needs to be extracted from the kitchen. And there are two kitchens. There's a prep kitchen downstairs. There's a service kitchen upstairs. So allegations about the fan being on when nobody's in the restaurant or nothing's happening, unfortunately, erroneous and completely unfair to be laid at our feet now.
I think this is something for the magistrates court at the hearing rather than what we're looking at now, I'm afraid. But it's quite interesting background for us to know. David, I went back to the planning officer, and sorry to say that she hadn't seen the closure of the case. So I apologise for that, but that's the, as soon as you said that, I checked with her to make sure. So we can move on from planning now. So okay, now right, it's 11:20. Does anybody want 10 minutes comfort break or get a coffee or something?
I think my baby wants a 10-minute comfort break. He's kicking off.
Yeah, okay, right, okay. Shall we if we come back at 11:30 then? Is that okay with everybody? Cheers. Thank you. can't tell. 1, 2, 3, 4. And David, Tim. Right, I think we're ready now to move on, and it's now David's turn to make his representations. Oh, Rebecca.
No, the environmental health officer hasn't.
Oh, that's true. Yes, sorry about that. Yes, it was. Yeah. Thank you for reminding me, Sarah. Okay, Rebecca, rather. Heat's affecting my brain as well as my nose. Tim, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm just going to read out the statement prepared by Carmelo, just to clarify.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is representation on behalf of the Environmental Protection Team under Prevention of Public Nuisance in support of review of the premises licence of Sinsin, 60 Western Road, Hove, BN3 1JD. On the 7th of May 2025, a complaint was received concerning extraction system noise from Sinsin 60 Western Road, Hove. Over the course of the investigation, 4 more complaints local to the surrounding area came in concerning the same issue of extraction system noise. The information that was obtained from the complainants was consistent in that the extraction system had only become a problem for them in April of 2025, when it stated by the complainants that Sinsin had a new extraction system installed. On the 27th of May 2025, one of the complainants withdrew the complaint as they had decided it's best for them to move house rather than continue with the investigation. Those were return and visits made to the complainants to witness the noise. I've got the 5th of June, 16th of June, 20th of June, 26th of June and the 20th of August. Despite visits, no statutory nuisance could be determined for any of the complainant's residents. Visits were made in pairs of officers. On the 13th of June 2025, readings were taken from one of the complainant's addresses, trying to determine what the complainant might actually be hearing. The readings did not give us any further information. Please be aware that we do not make a judgment on statutory nuisance based upon decibel readings. Noise does not have to be measured in decibels to be a statutory nuisance. On the 17th of August 2025, information on how to obtain mediation was sent to the complainants. On the 9th of September, after reviewing the case with myself initially as I was interim team leader, it was decided the case should be closed due to lack of evidence. Case was closed and closure letter sent to complainants. On the 10th of November, a new complaint contacted Environmental Protection and the case was reopened. Visits were made, but due to the extremely high winds and rain, which I think was mentioned by one of the statements earlier, EP were unable to determine a statutory nuisance. A seventh complainant came forward in December 2025 and was immediately contacted on the 8th. The diary was returned, a visit made on 11th of December, but the extraction system was not on. On the 17th of December, another visit was made around 12:37 with accompanying officers. Walking through the corridors of the building, we could hear a low droning / humming noise in the corridor, and as we approached the complainant's door. When we stepped in the complainant's residence, the noise was tonal, constant, and filled the room. We determined that the noise from the extraction system was invasive, and detrimental to health and enjoyment of the residents. On the 19th of December, a letter was sent to Mr. Toscano with regards to findings. It decided to give a 7-day period to allow Mr. Toscano time to procure information that may help to mitigate the situation. As it was a holiday period, the 7-day delay in serving the abatement notice would begin on the 5th of January 2026. On the 15th of January, Camillo made a visit back to the complainant with another officer. There was no change in notice and the noise was still deemed statutory. It was decided that an abatement notice would be served. The notice was served on the 19th of January 2026. Thank you.
Thank you very much. John and Kerry, is there anything you'd like to ask Tim?
I've got a question. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Could you just confirm, as I think what you said was that the noise that the residents are hearing doesn't have to reach a statutory decibel to be registered as a nuisance? Is that correct?
Yeah, it's the impact. So it's a combination of things. It's the consistency, it's the duration, it's the impact, it's the frequency, it's the tonality of the noise. It's not on a set decibel reading, and so the consideration is how much does this impact the quality, the legal terms, the quiet enjoyment of somebody's life. So that's what we're assessing on a statutory nuisance.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. John?
Not from me, thank you.
Thank you. I think in terms, that's very helpful what you said about it being the quality of life and so on, and not a sort of statutory level of noise. I just wondered how in terms of tonality and pitch and so on, I mean, obviously people hear things in different ways. So how would you measure somebody? I mean, I can't hear high pitches because I'm old, but but then you can feel lower noises and so on. So how do you evaluate that? Because you can't measure it because it's somebody else's experience, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I understand the question. So it's very much how it's received by, obviously we'll have two officers there, and it's the interpretation of the sound which we're presented. So what's the impact of that? Is there a continual impact noise, for example? Is that exacerbating within the soundscape? So it's the culmination of those factors when we're determining from a subjective assessment. Impacts of things like tonality will influence, obviously. Sorry, someone's just trying to get back into the meeting.
Yeah.
So the influence. I mean, there are specific allowances under things such as BS 4142 where you will make determinations and will award penalties on aspects such as tonality. So there are, if you're undertaking BS 4142, you will include that in your assessment, but it will be a judgment of the overall characteristics of the noise.
Okay, so what's in terms of evidence that you present to, is it magistrates at the
Yes,
court?
it will be,
yes. How, I'm just wondering, because they're lay people, and I'm just wondering how they're trained, or what do they take into consideration?
I couldn't comment on that. I'm not a magistrate. Yeah, I don't think that'd be appropriate.
But you've been to hearings before like this. Have you been to noise abatement?
I haven't. No, I haven't.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
that's very interesting. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
John.
Thanks, Julie. Things might be more directed to Rebecca. So Rebecca, Timothy sort of presented is the statutory noise elements which his department manages, and that's going to be judged on at the magistrates. How does that work in relation to what we can do as a licensing panel, where we would be making an assessment on public nuisance, and if any of the licensable activities are contributing to that? Is there a differential between the two?
Yes, through you, Chair. There is a difference between statutory nuisance and the public nuisance under the licensing regime, which is more of a sort of common law concept, and it's in the section 182 guidance at 2.22. Public nuisance is given a statutory meaning in many pieces of legislation. It is, however, not narrowly defined in the 2003 Act and retains its broad common law meaning. It may include inappropriate circumstances, the reduction of the living and working amenity and environment of other persons living and working in the area of the licensed premises. So it's capable of being a public nuisance under the Licensing Act, in those terms. Your powers, as Sarah Cornell has said, are to suspend or revoke the license, which is mainly, or modify it in terms of conditions. And I was going to ask the Environmental Protection Officer, I mean, because I mean, clearly they're the experts maybe in noise reduction and noise control. I mean, what steps would you advise in terms of possible conditions to go on the license? What would be appropriate in these circumstances?
I think we have to be very careful here that I don't act as ultra vires, because if I determine specific steps to be taken, if it doesn't rectify or remedy the problem, I could then be seen as providing incorrect advice. I believe in this particular case, I use a specialist in industrial noise and vibration. I believe that there was an opportunity made with Mr. Toscano for him to contact this professional. I'm unaware of the outcome of that conversation, but I know that they specialise in commercial industrial noise vibration, and they made an assessment, and that information was passed on to Mr. Toscano as well, and that's usually from a very brief video recording. So they would be the specialist. It was in an offer of trying to find a solution. We said these people may be able to help you, and so I understand that there was a conversation with regard to them approaching each other to discuss.
Oh, that's really helpful. Thank you.
Right, and that's what the noise abatement notice would have kind of, the action under that would have advised to take.
The abatement notice would be to abate the nuisance. We can offer a simple or a stepped abatement. I believe in this situation it was a simple to abate the nuisance, where we leave the prescriptive solution to the business.
And presumably if the abatement notice hadn't been appealed, then you would have, if you'd found a breach of that notice, you would have gone on to prosecute, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So,
you would have to witness a material breach, obviously. Yeah.
Okay, so you obviously a breach wasn't found last summer, and I'm just wondering, do you know what the circumstances were that led you to actually issue the notice later, earlier this year? I know there were lots of delays about things, but was there actually a point when you said no, there isn't one, but then you were called back? Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, looking at the case notes of Carmelo, it seems that obviously we received the complaint from Rita, I believe, who obviously is the flue is located just outside the window of a bedroom, if my memory serves me correct. So I'm trying to recall back to last December. So it was at that stage we had somebody. The term would be a nearby sensitive receptor. So they are, in theory, nearest to the source of the noise, and therefore, when we were making the assessment, we were in a property which was adjacent to the piece of equipment which was alleged was causing a problem at the time. So we were able to make an assessment within the property.
Yeah, I understand you have to be careful about where you take the measurements. That's great. Kerry, you had your hand up? Yeah.
Sorry, I had various questions, but then they got answered. I do have just one more. I know that Jonathan Barrowman said that it can be heard up to 70 meters away. So Timothy, have you also assessed from 70 meters away?
I personally haven't. I can check through the addresses and properties that Carmelo has been to as part of his investigation. I'm not aware, so I'd have to double check that with regard to a visit was undertaken or not.
I can probably help answer that if I may, Kerry. So Carmelo, I think he did three, which three properties were at the top of the views. And obviously you're coming at it's like a 15-minute window at different times of the day. We didn't receive any sort of actual reports on the level, but the verbatim was that it was kind of, in that kind of grey marginal area. So obviously Rita's property is very close to the restaurant. We did discuss low frequency noise with environmental protection. The current measures that are taken don't take account of low frequency noise from what we understand. There's a lot of evidence, a lot of sort of studies by DEFRA, for example, that low frequency noise has the capacity to travel long distances, can have a very detrimental impact on people's lives. We can certainly vouch for that. And I've got a video that I can share with you, which is walking from the bottom of the mews, maybe 60, 70 meters away from the actual fan, and walking up the mews towards the fan, and you can hear it getting progressively louder. So it's definitely audible from quite a distance away, and that's on the road itself, but it also is behind the houses as well. So we hear it at the back in our kind of living room, not just on the front where the kind of bedrooms are as well.
Thank you.
If that helps answer that question.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. So if there's no other questions from panel, Rita, Jonathan, Mary, and Victoria, is there anything you'd like to ask Tim? Okay. No. Okay. Forever hold your peace, they say. Okay, we can now move on to David's representations. Thank you. Oh, Rebecca, sorry. Sarah. Is there anything?
Well, I don't know whether David might want to ask questions of.
Yes,
Oh, I
please.
thought he already had. Sorry.
Oh,
Yeah, it's okay.
Also,
So let's go. And Sarah, is there anything you'd like to ask?
No, thank you.
Okay. Sorry about that.
I have a question as well, but maybe I'll let David ask his questions first.
Oh, I'm happy for you to go ahead, Rebecca, because it might save me one.
Well, no, it's just so we've heard Timothy that the fan was replaced and the new one. You don't have any info. I mean, maybe it's a question for David later, but you don't have any information on the difference between the specifications of the two fans.
I have checked all the email trail, not extensively because there's an awful lot of emails and Carmelo saves every email, but I can't see any evidence of an exchange of information currently with regards to the swap of the equipment.
And in your opinion, then you think in this case it should have a specialist in industrial noise and vibration making some kind of report? Is that what you're suggesting?
No, I was just trying to provide the business, because we're always trying to work with both sides in these matters. We're trying to resolve the complaint for the complainant and we're trying to work with the business. So we were trying to find a solution which may assist in resolution and be a cost-effective solution for the business. That was purely why. It's just somebody who I've worked with on previous cases who can identify. They basically use a narrowband frequency analysis and they can determine the specific hertz of the equipment, and then from that they can extrapolate. We take recordings with it off and with the equipment on, and from there it can be determined. It's recognised as a way of determining this, and it's a lot quicker than a lot of traditional methods of making these assessments. Hence why I use this approach.
Thanks. That's really helpful. Okay, David, would you like to ask your questions of Tim now? Sorry, I got a bit out of order there.
That's okay, no problem. Yeah, I have a few questions for Tim, although given Carmelo is the one who's given this summary and is not here, I expect to probably get limited answers, because just to be clear, the document that that has now been sent to me this morning, representation from Carmelo, it's not a full chronology of the file, is it, Tim?
No, it's a statement of the officer. It's an overview of the case. I believe you made a freedom of information request previously with regards to case information. Obviously, at the time, I believe we explained that with current live cases, we're not obliged to share that information always. And I believe that was gone through our FOI team and our EIA. So that would have been considered and responded to. And I don't think I'm in a position to respond on behalf of FOI team any further.
I don't think that was what the question was about. All I was asking is the statement which has been provided a full chronology of what you have on file?
Yes, it will be. It will be a summarization.
No, a full chronology, not summarization.
Sorry, if you're asking me if I'm not going to sit and compare through everything here. The statements written by Carmelo at the time, it would have drawn through the relevant chronological facts linked to this case. That's the best answer I can give you.
I understand that, because Carmelo is not here today, unfortunately. The reason I asked that is because there are key bits of information which you've even referred to then in your representation, which have been left off that statement, including the reference to Mr. Wilson from Industrial Noise and Vibration Centre. So so council, as you have indicated previously, council sent audio files to Mr. Wilson and asked for his assessment expert opinion on them. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. That's not in the statement, is it?
That has been provided to you historically by the case officer in a letter which I believe was sent via the legal team on the 7th of April.
It's not in the statement.
No, it's not.
So it wasn't submitted as part of the evidence for these proceedings.
Okay, I'm unsure of the point we're trying to achieve here with these questions. So if we could just get to the.
the point is you just need to answer the question, please, Tim. The question is that you've now, in these proceedings, referred to expert evidence or expert advice, whatever you want to call it, from Mr. Wilson at the Industrial Noise and Vibration Centre. And that expert advice was in response to audio files that council sent to Mr. Wilson.
Yeah.
But none of that is referred to in this chronology that Carmelo has produced.
No, but it was sent you in a letter on the 7th of April,
Correct.
which I've just previously
Agreed.
commented on.
Agreed.
Okay,
I'm not disputing that. It's also the summary doesn't identify that it was actually myself who contacted council first before. I think Carmelo's chronology starts on the 7th of May, and I contacted council in April when a resident raised an issue with me, and I asked for guidance from council on what our obligations were and what the next steps were. But that's not in the summary either.
Did you put that in your representation, David?
I'll have to check. But
yeah, because I think the thing is what you're doing is you're kind of questioning Tim about stuff that he's
here on behalf of the council. It's not.
I know, but what I'm saying is
it's not my problem that Carmelo has failed to attend.
He's here to help us with our decision.
And I'm asking for clarity on these points.
Well, the only way we can do that is to adjourn this entirely and wait till Carmelo comes back.
But Tim has access to the file. He's looking on the screen now.
He's just saying that there's a lot of information. I'm not sure how this is going to help us as the panel. Going back to, we're looking at the licensing objectives, and the licensing objectives are, about whether we, about the alcohol license and the refresh and the late night refreshment notice and how we deal with this. But I think really this is a discussion for you and whoever is representing you in court, in the magistrates' court, and environmental protection. I'm not sure whether that's really helpful to us. I mean, it'd be interesting, but it's not. I don't think it's going to help us make a decision.
And I was going to raise that exact point. We have a forthcoming case. I was going to ask Rebecca. I believe some of these aspects maybe sit better with that. I provided a statement today.
Sorry, just to be fair, these points go to the picture that's being painted of myself and my business as sitting on our hands and doing nothing for over a year, and that's simply not the case. And the selective chronology which has been submitted by Mr. Rafala on behalf of council emphasises that. Well, it kind of reinforces that point because it's left out very key pieces of information, and perhaps the point is that I should make those in my.
Yes, I think you should do. Can you?
Because Mr. Start can't answer them because he didn't give the summary. I understand that.
But can you? That is for you to make your representations. I mean, we are not looking at what you've done, what you haven't done. I mean, we've all got questions about various things, I'm sure, but the key thing is, have we got enough evidence to to help us with this review? And I think there's a lot of he said, she said going on here, which is not. I don't think it's very helpful to any of us. So
what I was trying to get to was that Mr. Start is referring to evidence which could have been provided, and it hasn't been. That's what I'm trying to highlight.
Okay, but I'm not sure how much that would have helped us. But let's move on. And have you got any more questions of Tim before we?
I don't have any more questions. I'll save them for my submission.
Okay, now would you like it's unless Rebecca's got anything more to say in terms of legal business, we can move on to you now. And of course, we've heard what you've said, but I mean, I've got some questions, and I'm sure my colleagues have as well. I'm sure the others have. So you make your representations, and then we can move on.
Okay, sure. I mean, my written submissions were served last night. The reason they were served at the last minute is because highlighted in the submissions, I was waiting for the objective evidence that was going to be served in these proceedings so that we could meet that evidence, and that never happened. So I don't intend to repeat the written submissions verbatim as other people have done on the call today is just really not a good use of the committee's time. They can be read and considered. But what I would say is our preliminary point is that because of a lack of objective evidence any objective evidence served in these proceedings, that there is no case to answer. And I say that without any kind of joy or happiness. This is clearly a stressful issue for all the parties on this call, including myself. I 100% apologise for the stress and strain that has caused. But it's unfair to paint myself as a business owner, as the licence holder, as I just suggested then, as sitting around in our hands. That's simply not the case. The idea that this issue can just be fixed, or is a quick fix or a simple fix, or hilariously that just the fan is being put in upside down is complete nonsense, and it ignores not only the technical considerations that need to be undertaken in order to make sure that whatever fix or rectification takes place, or amendment to the system takes place, that it actually resolves whatever this issue is. But it also has to take into account the time that's required to brief experts, to speak to contractors, and the cost consideration. We don't have endless pockets. We can't throw tens of thousands of pounds at this to just fix the problem, as might be suggested or has been suggested through the press. That's just simply not the case. But I am mindful of the stress that this scenario has caused, and I'm sorry for it. And it's not, obviously, it goes without saying that stress sits with me as well. A lot of that stress, unfortunately, has been dealing with environmental health, who, as I said, was not included in their chronology at all, spent more than a year, or at least a year, refusing to provide any kind of objective information, any noise assessments, and in fact told me on many occasions that none had been carried out. And it turns out that they had been carried out, that noise assessments had been carried out in June 2026. And as per Mr. Rafala's statement, no nuisance was found, and the case was closed. And we can only. I'm a restaurateur, business owner. I am not a noise specialist. I'm not a fan installer. I'm not a extraction expert by any stretch of the imagination. I can only go by experts in this field, who environmental health are supposed to be. And what was left off, a key bit of information which was left off the chronology bit, which was referred to by Mr. Stark just then, was that because of council's refusal to provide the information, just the bare information and the record of their assessments that they had undertaken when this period was continuing through summer 2025, I had to make a freedom of information request for that information, which wasn't provided until after the noise abatement notice was served. And even then, a vast extent of information was withheld by council. No information post-dating October 2025 was provided, and various other documents and notes and diary entries which are referred to in those documents were not provided. And I've then had to apply for a formal review of that response from Freedom of Information Department of Council, which I'm still waiting on a response on months later, 4 months later. And I know, I'm sure none of that is of any comfort to any of the people on the call who've made representations, but I provide that background because they may not have been given that background by council. Jonathan mentioned earlier that he'd asked for the specs of the fan and was told that we'd never provided them, and that's 100% incorrect. We have tried to move as quickly as we can within the confines of what is actually achievable, because the response from council on numerous occasions has been that this is a purely subjective, and has actually been referred to on this call, a purely subjective process, which would mean that if I spent tens of thousands of pounds on a remedial scheme which has been recommended to me by an expert, and council came along and said, no, sorry, in our subjective decision, subjective assessment, we don't think that that's resolved the problem, I'm completely out of pocket, and I'm very unlikely to be able to afford to spend more money on that issue, and very likely have to close the restaurant. So that's the kind of factual background that I think is missed, in particular from the environmental health submission, which I've only seen today. So that's been kind of put forward on the hop. But as to the written submissions made yesterday, I'm very clear about what the position is, that that the committee should act with caution, extreme caution, in making any modification, conditions, revocation of our license in a matter whereby there has been no objective evidence served on us as the respondent, so that we can respond to it and process that information. That leaves us in a very difficult position in order to receive a fair trial, and it's completely against the right to fair notice. So it's all very well for representatives on this call to say, well, I have that and I can provide it. I have this, if anybody asked, I would give it, but that doesn't give me, as the respondent, fair notice in order to be able to consider that and respond fully. And I don't think I need to explain that to committee about where that leaves me as the respondent. The other point is that, as was highlighted by Rebecca, and was highlighted by Sarah at licensing when I first spoke to her about this process, these are two separate statutory regimes, and nothing in the noise abatement process or evidence in that matter, which is on appeal, should colour what is happening now, what the determination is in these proceedings. But what the committee can be comfortable with is the only evidence that we have been provided of a objective assessment of the noise being undertaken was in June 2025, and they determined at that time that no statutory nuisance was found and the investigation was closed. So I again caution the committee from just taking the submissions that have been made by the representatives in these proceedings and ignoring the fact that no objective evidence has been given. I could repeat the submissions that I've made in terms of what we have done in order to try to abate this issue, and what we've done in terms of trying to find a solution with the installer, what we have planned this week for another installation of a replacement of the fan controller, but that's all in the written submissions, and I think that's just going to be wasting people's time. I would finally like to say that, as has been thankfully highlighted in submissions from John, that we're talking about the licensable activities that we have under this premises license to sell alcohol and to have late night refreshment, and this application while made with bona fides and made on a basis that the applicant wanted to move this matter forward. It's our submission that this is the wrong forum for this, and this was a conversation I had with licensing when this first arose, because of the shorter timetable for this process, that it was very likely that the noise abatement proceedings would still be ongoing, which they are. That the works that we were investigating in order to find a solution are ongoing, which they are, which we hope to bring to a close very soon, ideally this week. But we have no control over the timing of this hearing and any decision which is to come from committee. So again, I would caution, respectfully caution from the respondent side, that we are not hamstrung in our ability to operate the business through the licensing, the licensable activities, when that's not really what this subject matter is about. That's probably enough. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, I think we are clear as a panel that we can only look at the licensable activities on this, and the complainant, Rita, and the other residents have made it on grounds of public nuisance, which and Tim has confirmed that there's a difference between, the bar which has to be met in a noise abatement notice or whatever isn't just to do with, objective measurements, but it's also to do with perception and what people are hearing. And I hear that you were saying that, the noise, there was no statutory nuisance found back last summer, but it was, but there clearly is a statutory nuisance in terms of where Rita's coming from, and which is why the nuisance has been, the notice was made. I mean, most of the stuff that you've said is for you to say to the magistrates, I think. I mean, one thing, I think I think it's not a great idea to issue your statement the day before, the evening before the hearing, because some of us might not have been able to read it. And also that, but in what you've been talking about in the last, 15 minutes or 10 minutes or so is to do with the process rather than your kind of defence, perhaps, about the public nuisance aspects of it in terms of the licensing objectives. I think that's the thing that we have to concentrate on.
Just to clarify, when you refer to that somehow these submissions need to be made to the magistrate, are you talking about the current noise abatement proceedings, or are you talking about an appeal from any decision from the committee?
No, we the only thing that we can look at is that aspect of the licensing objectives, which is public nuisance. Most of the stuff that you've been talking about how you're unhappy with the way, the council has proceeded and various bits of information have been given to you and information hasn't been given to the residents. This is for you at the court, the magistrates' court proceedings. It's not really helpful. Sorry?
For the noise abatement notice. I'm sorry, I'm just confused because.
Well, yes. Sorry, no. The only the that's what I'm saying, is that most of the stuff you've just said is for you to make your case at the hearing when it finally happens for the noise abatement notice.
I'm sorry. I'm waiting for Rebecca to come in, but I don't think that's the correct legal position.
No. But what I'm trying to say is that the only thing that the three of us can consider is whether or not there is a breach of the licensing objectives one of the licensing objectives, rather than all the information that you've just given us about failure as a council to do this, freedom of information aspects which haven't come up.
Oh, I understand. Sorry, I apologize. Yeah. I thought you were talking about the submissions of no case to answer, but I'll leave. I see Rebecca's hands up, so maybe she can clarify.
Yeah, and I think also the fact that we only had that last night.
Well, I just wonder why that is.
Why?
Is there a procedure, a timetable for submissions from the respondent for a committee hearing? I didn't see that.
I mean, that is there? I mean, that's something for Rebecca and Sarah say, but it is quite, you know, I mean, we've had all the submissions from everybody else in time. I just wonder why your submission was only made last night.
Because, as I've made clear, there is no evidence that's been submitted as part of these proceedings, and I was waiting for that to arrive. And I've given the parties. So let's say I served these written submissions last week, and then evidence was served post that.
Well, then that would be something for you to be able to respond to today.
Yeah, but I've given the applicant and the representatives to all the time they could have to serve the evidence, and that's not been done.
So when you say evidence, what evidence are you after? Are you after evidence from? I mean, as far as the
respondent to make the case, Julie, I'm sorry.
But the people who've, I mean, Rita and the others residents who've come along, they have put their case in their submissions.
If we take a simple point, there's been numerous references in today to low frequency. How are you going to determine whether the noise is low frequency if there's no evidence?
I think there's something for Tim. I mean, again, this is we are talking. I think we're talking.
I'm a respondent whose license is at risk, and all I'm doing is making the points that
I know, but we can only consider this on licensing objectives.
Okay.
And I can't see anything that you've said which is defending your position. But by saying there's no case to answer, when we're listening to people saying that their lives are being made quite miserable because of this. I'll go over to Rebecca now.
Please.
Yes, on the first point about the time limit, there isn't a time limit as such, although the hearings regulations say that if you introduce something at the hearing, it has to be with consent. It's not ideal to introduce it the day before, but it isn't specifically barred, and we don't do that. On the points that you make, the no case to answer, we can't do that in a review. I think the first point to make is that this isn't a court of law. This isn't a formal courtroom, and when you refer to objective evidence, again, a licensing panel hearing doesn't necessarily, I don't know what that requirement is. The licensing panel hearing has heard evidence. It has heard just, personal testimonies from residents that have been affected. So, that is evidence. I mean, and you refer to the Thwaites case, which had no evidence whatsoever, and that's why that. But this is different from the Thwaites case. I mean, that was a case on its own facts, and it was very different, and it was about not having fear and speculation. The panel has heard. I mean, what weight they attach to it is a matter for the panel, but the panel has heard personal testimony, and it's also heard that the environmental protection officer went in and witnessed what they thought was a statutory nuisance, and so there is evidence. And
there was also evidence from the environmental protection officer that when they did carry out objective testing in June 2025, they found no nuisance and closed the file.
But they don't have to. I mean, they've said to establish a statutory nuisance, they can go in and make a subjective assessment, and that I appreciate that might be something that the court is about, what your appeal is about. But there is evidence. I mean, and I think and you have actually adduced evidence yourself that you're trying to find a solution to this. So in a way, you must accept that there is an issue here. The licensing panel should be solution focused. They want to take action that's, proportionate and looks at the causes of the problem, and, trying to prevent public nuisance. I appreciate the licensable activities are sufficiently linked in my legal view, but it's to the nuisance potentially which is being caused, and therefore there is potential for the panel to take action or no action as it sees fit. I don't know, but I don't know how the other cases will be resolved, but that's not for this panel to look at. it may be that this panel hasn't got enough information at the moment to decide what potential action it needs to take, and that's a tricky one. But maybe the panel can ask you questions about some of the things that you've referred to in your submission when you, in the alternative, the substantial defence on the merits, you have actually referred to some steps maybe that you have taken, and maybe that might be helpful as well for the panel to ask about.
Sure.
Thanks.
I think we've just lost Victoria again. She's having real problems with her a computer at the moment, so she's going to restart it. But I think we need to push on, because I mean we've been here for over 2 hours now, and I can see everybody's getting more and more sort of hot, and dogs getting bothered and so on. So I've got some questions of David. I mean, Rebecca might stop me with some of them because they will. I wrote them down before we just had this discussion, and but first of all, I'll ask John and Kerry if they've got any questions.
And happy for you to go first, Julie. Also, yeah.
Can I go first? Thanks. David, could I first of all ask, why did you initially decide to change the extractor fan in the first place?
So the fan which was in there was installed in 2017, and in April 2025, we worked out that fan had failed. It had corroded and failed. It wasn't working at all.
Okay, thank you. And can I ask, was the previous fan linked to both kitchens?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm sure you have thought of these things, but I'm just going to ask them anyway.
Sure.
Can I ask, have you thought about using, extra acoustic screening or ductwork lagging and things like that?
We've been quoted a number of proposals with various costs attached to them. One of which was an extraction fan inside an acoustic box. Something like that. So yes, we have, but what we're trying to do is obviously take a approach which would give us a resolution which council would also be happy with, so that we didn't keep facing challenges from council on the noise abatement side and on the licensing side now. So yeah, we have looked at a large number of various, and it depends who you are. If you ask one person, they'll give you one answer, another person another answer, which is why I was referring to Mr. Wilson, on the industrial noise. Yeah, Mr. Wilson, Peter Wilson, I think his name was. Finally, council provided that contact in April 2026, and because he's an expert that council have referred to and got advice from, there was more comfort in speaking to him about what the issue might be, so that we could, if we followed his guidance, then we hopefully would get a solution which council would be happy with.
So I understand you've spoken to various people or various experts on possible solutions, but you haven't actually put any in at the moment, or you have?
We haven't put anything. No, the next bit of work is as referenced in the submission towards the end there. Let me just get the relevant. It's at. It's at section 8 in my written submissions, referencing replacing the 10 amp voltage regulator speed controller with a 7.5 amp transformer single phase 5-step controller. That is the current advice, that the noise may be coming from the wrong controller or a faulty controller, or I mean, I don't know. I'm not a noise expert.
So sorry, just to clarify, so your intention is to change this speed controller or regulator.
Yep.
And that's work that you're intending to do in the next few weeks?
This week.
This week?
Yeah.
Okay. That's all right. That's okay for me for the moment. Thank you.
John?
Nothing at the moment. I'm just trying to flesh something out. You may well ask Julie, so happy for you to go in.
Okay. I suppose I mean I'm very glad to hear that you are looking at carrying out the work. Is this can you please reassure the neighbours, in particular Rita and Victoria, that you accept that there has been a problem? Because it seems to me that there has been times when you've not accepted that there's a problem, and that's why they're very upset and unhappy and have gone through this quite painful process for them as well as yourself.
Of course, but what I'd like to make really clear, which again has been left out from evidence provided by council, is that I was the one who contacted council in the first instance. So the idea
was that because there had been a complaint made to you?
I know one of the people who live in the Mews.
Okay, so you were aware. Okay,
I was aware. Yeah, immediately aware.
So you were aware, and so you. Okay, but then I mean, did you let people know? I mean, I think the thing is, people don't like being kept in the dark. They don't like being felt that everything they're saying is not being listened to. I mean, Mary talked about not. I mean, all of them talked about not getting a great deal of response from you, and I think it was Mary talked about speaking to your chef, who agreed that it was noisy, and I just wondered. I think at the moment there seems to be, in terms of how this is looking, I mean, we've got some residents here and a business person who's been very unhappy, and that this has been going on for quite a long time. You say you went for help, but I just feel that we need to make sure that the people who are on this call and others have been listened to, and that you are definitely doing something, and that you will keep them informed. I mean, that's slightly outside of what we can do. But I'm just asking you to please make sure. I completely
understand, and I agree with what you're saying, with your sentiment. And as I said at the start, this has been. I'm not going to suggest that this has been more stressful for me than anybody else on this call, but it has been a serious issue of stress and time from the running of my business for over a year now. And
yeah, that's fair enough. I understand that.
I don't really want to get into why,
Well, I think it's very helpful because we've got, I mean, you're a professional, you're running a business, and we've got Tim here, who's a professional, and we're lay people as councillors, although I do know a bit about planning, as you found out. But it's just that most of the time you have seemed to have been blaming everybody else. You've been blaming the council. That's how I felt that you came across, and so, well, it's like, oh, I didn't have any evidence, so I produced my statement, right at the last minute. That's what I'm saying. So what I'm asking for you is to say that you are going to keep all these people informed, and that you are doing your very best. And if it can't be done this week, I mean, we're Wednesday now. I mean, will it be done by Friday? I don't know. And also the other question I have is, knowing that there was a problem, because if you knew there was a problem, because you, as you say, back in whenever it was in the spring, you contacted the council for assistance, and then a noise abatement notice was finally issued. Why? I'm just wondering why you have appealed it when you are actually, there's a problem, and you have been looking at ways of dealing with it, albeit sort of in the background to a certain extent, so that they.
I think what the reasons he's appealed that is probably going on a separate court case, and we'll have to deal with that. But it's a fair point.
I think you owe it to the to the residents, but maybe you can deal with them outside of this hearing, because
Sure.
I think that they very much feel, and you can see the looks on their faces, they very much feel that you've let them down, although you have made it clear, and I'm happy to accept that you've been doing a lot of work in the background to try and sort it out. But when you go and appeal the noise abatement notice, it looks like
I have every right to do that.
I know, it doesn't
hearing
look.
that.
I mean, you've got these people have been living here, they're your neighbours, some of them use your restaurant. I just think that in the, you know, I'm trying to look out for them, because they're all, you know, they're lay people as well. And we've had, you know, I've sat in hundreds of these things. And when we have neighbours complaining about noise and disturbance and all the rest of it from the licensable activities, you know, it's fair for them to have some sort of assurance that this isn't going to happen in the future. I mean, you know, this is what I'm asking for, and I appreciate that it's just outside, but I just feel it's fair to the 4 people that have spent their time today.
I understand that, but it's also fair for myself as a business owner, as a premises holder, to have right to a fair trial.
Well, that's sure. That's sure, but it's like, I just found it weird that you'd appealed it when you've actually admitted there is a problem. But hey, what we're going to do now,
Rebecca,
unless anybody else has got any more
let's not
questions.
get into the appeal. This is a licensing panel here, and we want to be solution focused, and I think
exactly
that's the aim here. And you did ask a question, I think, which wasn't answered, about the work this week or something. That was
you said it was going to happen this week.
That hasn't happened yet, is that right?
It hasn't happened yet, and I can't check whether it has happened because I've been on this call this morning. But obviously, I can update the committee if that, because
might that solve the problem? I don't know.
I'm advised that will likely solve the problem. But again, I'm not as I've sort of referred to in the, again, at 8.1. The advice I have is that sorry.
But you're paying for this. So, do you feel reassured?
No, of course not, because this has been going on for so long, and we've had a scenario whereby council took readings in June and found no nuisance, and then made a decision later on that it was. So,
well, that's because they went to a different location.
To be completely fair to all sides, is that I am not an expert. If there was an expert on the call who could look at what we're proposing and say yes or no whether, like if Mr. Wilson was on this call.
Well, you could have called him as a witness.
He's the council's expert, not mine. And I'm not here to make the case for the applicant. This is you're
making a case. But I think things, you know, science is a, you know, aim, but it's not something that's airy fairy. It works or it doesn't.
Well,
I mean, I don't know why you're
as a lawyer who did contentious work for 20+ years. There's always an expert on either side who will say that's
but I mean, you're
right.
talking about.
And my point is,
I'm talking about actual science. You know, mechanics, things that fit together. I mean, I've done a lot of work on these extract ducts as well, and I know that, you know, they're either right or they're wrong. So somebody didn't install your one right. Anyway, we can now move on.
Found no nuisance.
Well, no, that was in one that's
what they found.
But that was in when they were looking in somebody else's property. The fact is they have found it in somebody else's property. So I think now what we want to do is to move on to our summing up. And I
think people haven't had the opportunity to ask questions actually.
Oh, hang on. I thought. Sorry. I thought John. Well, that's the next stage. John,
just quickly. So you engaged Mr. Wilson, did you? And did he provide? You haven't engaged Mr. Wilson.
What happened was on the 7th of April, almost a year after this process had started, with council asking for guidance, council wrote to me and included an extract of a report which had a Hertz reading. Again, I don't understand what these things are, and said that that if I wanted to contact this person, I could. So then there was a bit of a back and forth about how I would do so, and I did contact Mr. Wilson, and Mr. Wilson told me that council had been sending him audio files and asking for his expert advice on them. And so I then, through a number of conversations with Mr. Wilson, who was very helpful, and sending him audio files of videos and recordings of the extraction on and off and different speeds and blah blah blah. His advice was that this is how we've got to this point of the controller being a likely culprit of a noise. So it's not my expert, it's council's expert.
And that's why you're the controller. What's that? That's the one that you mentioned at paragraph. Yeah.
It's basically so obviously you don't turn the fan on inside where the fan is. You turn it on in the kitchen. The control, in layman's terms, the controller that we have at the moment and have that was replaced when the fan went in last year, is a kind of dial that you turn up and down, up and down. This controller is a step controller, so it has 5 settings. Other than that, I don't know what it does differently, but I'm advised that will make a difference, and that's happening this week.
Okay.
Sorry, John, did you have a question?
Oh, thanks, David. Yeah, so just want to canvass your view of, would you accept a temporary suspension of the licensable activities for late night refreshments whilst waiting to see if this remedial work is successful? As obviously reading through your statement, obviously it is imperative that the extraction fan is operable during the hours the kitchen is in operation. So I've on the fact would maybe go some way in appeasing neighbouring residents that it would end earlier, and that's within our gift, as from 11 o'clock onwards that is a licensable activity.
Yeah, I mean, as the business owner, like, I'm obviously not on site all the time, and I'm also not the chef, so I don't run the kitchen. But as the business owner, I don't want to see my chefs having the extraction on past 11 p.m. That shouldn't happen. They can manage operations of both kitchens without the extraction being on that late. So while my primary submission is that there should be no restriction of our license or modification or conditions added in it, or obviously revocation wasn't asked for, but I know it's been mentioned in the press and in this call today. While my my primary submission is that there should be none of those changes made to the license. If a temporary amendment to the license meant that we couldn't have the extraction on past 11 p.m, we could certainly achieve that straight away.
Okay, thank you. So just to clarify, so the kitchen can operate without the extraction fan being on all the time, and so for example, using 11 o'clock as the example because that's what's licensable, and within our gift that is something which is possible, so you can carry on operating, you can carry on operating under the terms of your license past 11 o'clock, and that doesn't necessarily need to have a fan on.
So
that's correct.
Correct. Just to give you some detail on that. So what we have done, there's an intake fan and there's an extract fan, right? So the intake blows clean air into the kitchens, and the extract fan takes away the dirty air from the kitchens up the flue. We, in an attempt to mitigate this issue, we have been using the intake fan doesn't seem to create any issue with noise. It's the extraction fan which appears to be the issue. And so we can operate, I wouldn't say most of the time, but we can operate with the intake fan on and bypass the extract fan. But the reason I'm referring to post 11 p.m. is as a restaurant, the last table booking time is from 9:30 p.m. And obviously people are dining earlier than they used to, or less late than they used to. So it is highly irregular for us to have a table in that requires cooking, which requires the extraction on past 11 p.m. Even if we had a table come in at 9:30, then we should be able to get, if not, we should be able to get through their mains being served, which would be the cooking bit that's required, that requires extraction within 90 minutes. They may be having desserts or they may be having more drinks, but none of that kind of requires extraction, which is why I said post 11 p.m. the extraction from a business owner's point of view shouldn't really be on.
Oh, thank you. That's very helpful, and I'm learning a lot about extraction fans as well, which I didn't have that knowledge before. But it's useful to have a context of how it, does work in operation and in reality. So thank you, and no further questions. Thanks, Julie.
Thank you. Okay, so Kerry, you haven't got any more questions, Kerry? No. Okay. So, Jonathan.
Thank you. So I just wanted to some points of clarity really around. So we're discussing the cause of the public nuisance, the fan, and there are a few things that I'm a little bit unclear about. So it'd be great if you could clarify them, please, David. So, so you said you're not sure that the new extraction unit is a like-for-like replacement. You're not 100%.
I didn't say that.
You said that you aren't an expert and that you couldn't say it was an exact like-for-like replacement.
No, I didn't say that because that's not correct. So are you talking about the extraction fan itself?
Yeah.
So the extraction fan that was in there that failed in April last year was installed in 2017. The replacement that went in 2026 is obviously not going to be a 2017 fan. Okay, it is, but it can't be any bigger or more powerful because that is determined by the size of the flue and the size of the space within which the fan goes in, and the power rating as well. So those are all limiters about what we can do. So the fan that went in April last year, you can't describe it as true like for like because obviously we're not going to buy a 2017 fan to put in 2026, but it's a fan that goes into that space doing the same job.
So the specs, which I think Timothy will share with us in terms of the old versus the new units, it'd be great to see those. Obviously, it's a lot louder. We know that. And you said, again, just point of clarity, just so I'm clear. So you said that the installer came and said the fans operated normally. So I think we've got email exchanges on that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. And you're also saying that you've been waiting for the council for the last year to advise you on the specifications or the requirements of your extraction units.
No. What the dispute, in summary, the kind of back and forth dispute with council is, as I kind of described maybe in my submission earlier, is council have made clear over and over that this is a subjective assessment process, that they can come along at any time and they can stand in wherever they like and they can decide yes, no on nuisance. And in fact, we've seen that from the chronology that's been now submitted by council, that on many times they came in and they made a decision that it wasn't, and many times they came a later time they came in and decided that it was. And the guidance as the business owner, as the license holder in these proceedings that I was asking for was some information on what it is that we are meant to meet, what requirements, whether that's, okay, Mr. Stard has pointed out that it's not decibel level, but whatever, some guidance on what it is that we are either meant to fix, so some objective information on that, some technical information on that we're meant to fix, or some information on guidance on what it is we're meant to get to in order to agree a repair or rectification with, whatever you want to call it. We went back and forth on that for a year, as I've kind of outlined before. We then got the information. I then got the information from Mr. Wilson. My point being, as I said, that just saying, as council did on numerous occasions, to just fix it isn't really a solution for us, because I could spend 10, 20, 50 grand on works and they could subjectively come along and go, yeah, no, that didn't do it, sorry. And they don't have to provide any information.
And do you have the information you need now?
Say again?
Do you have the information that you need now?
What I have now is the information from Mr. Wilson, who is the expert that council have been getting advice from, who have pointed me to this process whereby we're replacing the controller. So,
and that's the £250. That's the £250 receipt that you shared. That's right?
The controller. That's just the works haven't been done. Obviously, that's just the actual box control. Yeah, step controller.
Why are you going to the full claims court? Oh, okay.
Sorry, Mary. Sorry, I heard something about small claims court.
Okay. So who's next?
Yeah, and so just my final question was just which you may have got to already, actually, David, is so I'm just so that's the sequence, and you're now taking your installer of the new fan to small claims court. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep.
And on the basis of.
On the basis of that, they installed the fan and controller, that there's been noise complaints, as we've obviously all aware of and had discussions about, and refused to come to site to, well, either rectify it or give advice on what that rectification work should be.
So I was just my final point, and then I'm done. But we were led to believe last year that the fan, I think you said the fan was under warranty, and correct, that you would get the installer back, and they would. So they're not honouring that. Correct. Is that what you're saying?
They did. So the fan was installed in April, and following the initial contact with council and with neighbours, the installer returned in June or July, I can't remember the exact date, and replaced that fan again. So that was done under warranty, and the small claims claim that I've annexed reference to in my submissions, again, that's also made under warranty, because there was a 12-month warranty on the works that were done in April 2026. 2025, sorry, 25.
Okay, thank you.
Have you any more questions, Jonathan? No? Okay. I'll move on to Victoria and then Mary, although her hand's gone down now.
Right. Thanks, Julie. So one question for David and two for the council. So David, just to clarify the for me, when did you receive this expert advice which has led to you installing this new device? Because it's quite late since the statutory nuisance was declared to be taking action. So when did you first consult the expert before then deciding this week to install something?
That was in the council's letter of the that was provided by council 7th of April 2026.
Okay, but so it was only then that they said this is the person you could talk to?
Well, they actually didn't even really say that, but yeah, they sent a letter which had a extract of an expert assessment of noise, and said you might want to contact this person. And we went back and forth because they initially wouldn't give me the details because of data protection, and then I had a number of calls with Mr. Wilson in April.
Okay, thank you. And then Council, 2 questions for you, if you don't mind. So based on your previous comments, if the changes are made and we don't see any difference, do we have any recourse to bring this back to this panel? And a secondary point, or I suppose question, is that 11 p.m, that restriction would still leave the fan operating up to 15 hours a day, impacting on our lives. So whilst I understand why that would be the cutoff, that's still quite late in the day and quite a lot of exposure to us for something that has been found to be a statutory nuisance 15 hours of the day. And that's 5 to 6 days a week, longer on bank holidays. And again, as someone with a newborn, they don't respect an 11 p.m. bedtime as much as I wish they would. So I'm often settle them down for much earlier in the day.
I think as I've said a couple of times, we can only make a decision on this based on licensable activities, and in this case, unless there's nothing here that we've heard that means we can take their alcohol license away, but we can. The only redress we have at the moment is to take away the late license, the late refreshment license. And I'll bring Rebecca in as well now.
Okay, thank you.
If there is sufficient link between the alcohol license and the nuisance being caused, then you can take away the alcohol license as well. I mean, that is an option open to you. I wouldn't necessarily. I mean, presumably, and taking away the alcohol license would impact, wouldn't it? I imagine. I mean, although the food could still be cooked, it would impact on the business.
Yes, and it wouldn't actually make any difference.
Well, it might, because it might impact on the business so that they couldn't operate. I mean, I'm not suggesting that anyone wants to operate a punitive system here. You're trying to be solution focused, but yes. It is.
Well, I think what I'm saying is that is something which is the best consideration that we can do at the moment, because we don't want to take the business away. We don't want to stop. We don't want the restaurant to close down. We want, as you say, a solution.
I mean, are there some minimal times that could be imposed maybe for the working of the fan? I appreciate 11 p.m. is quite late, but probably not.
Can we actually make a recommendation outside of the terms of the license?
Well, I think you can add conditions to a license, or you can do nothing and make a recommendation. But what weight that would have is.
Well, I'm just thinking, if we made those conditions, if we said, "Oh, you have to turn the fans off at 9," that's not.
Well, if it's not an appropriate condition, or if it's not something that the premises can work against, then it's not going to be helpful, and you're just going to face an appeal. So I mean, you need to canvass everything with everyone really, and see what might be appropriate.
So David, what if we said? I'm not saying we will, but if we said you could only use the fans between, one time and sort of during the daytime, how would that fit with you? I can't see. I'm not 100% sure that that's a good thing, but I'm just asking you because we have to canvass you for that.
So there's a couple of points. Firstly, it wouldn't work in practical terms because it would restrict when we can and can't cook.
Yep.
When we can and can't operate the kitchen safely, whether that's for gas, whether that's for condensation building up in the kitchen so the chefs don't slip over carrying pots of stock or oil or knives. That's the practical kind of outcome of the extraction not being on or restricted, but we have at least attempted to do so and live with that as we can. It's also not, as I indicated earlier, it's not as simple as saying, well, you don't turn the extraction on until customers are in the restaurant. I mean, you have to prepare the food before they arrive. Unfortunately, we don't have a microwave in the kitchen. Everything's made fresh.
Glad to hear that.
and you might have, and the other reality is that just from an operational point of view is that on a day where the chefs have ad hoc jobs through the week that require extraction on at varying times, and they're under strict instructions to not turn it on when they don't need it. I couldn't give you a guidance about when is a good time to switch it on and switch it off. And if someone to say, oh, you shouldn't have it on at 8:30 when the chefs come in, but if they're using the gas cooker in the prep kitchen, it must be on. If there's a fire, that fire is going to travel up the flue next to Rita's window, unfortunately. So the danger involved in that doesn't work. There's also the economic impact of a condition that says that we can't operate the kitchen in line with the licensable activities that we have permission for. I mean, again, these kind of punitive steps might close the business. I'm not saying that by way of hyperbole.
No, I mean, look what happened when the Royal Albion Hotel burnt down for the first time. That was because of a flue that hadn't been cleaned, and a fire that started in there. So, I mean, we just have to ask you because
I understand that.
yeah. So I think now, Jonathan, have you got your hand still up? Have you got another question?
No, apologies, that should be down.
Okay,
remove the hand.
fine. Remove the hand. Victoria, is there something you'd like to say? And then, oh, hang on, I've got Mary. People are disappearing and coming back. Mary, would you like to say your piece? And then I'll move on to Victoria.
Obviously, as I say, my displeasure or discomfort is far less than the residents, and it's, I do appreciate that. But I don't think any of us can live with the vagaries of, will they have the fan on? Will they not? Will they not? The actual solution we're going round and round in circles, prevaricating. And what it actually needs to be done, I feel, is something that needs to be put in place to say that ban will be looked at, will be changed. David, can I ask you, Tung that had the restaurant before you, didn't have a kitchen upstairs, did they?
I don't know, actually. I don't know if
Well, you bought the restaurant from them.
I didn't buy the restaurant from them, no. I just leased the space.
Oh, so when you went in, was there a kitchen? Was there a kitchen? I'm just saying, because my understanding from Tung was that they had a fan for downstairs kitchen and a fan for the upstairs restaurant, which I wouldn't imagine.
I've never been in that restaurant. I don't know.
Oh, well, right, I have. But obviously, with having a kitchen up there as well, there's more ventilation needed. There's more extraction needed because you're cooking and people sitting. And I've had this conversation with Jamie, your head chef. And I came in once and he said, "Look at it. Look, the windows are all steamed up. What can I do about my business?" And I said, "Well, what can I do about ours?" So, I think we can go round and round and round and round in circles. Your residents, your neighbours are suffering huge discomfort. I mean, I would be mortified if my business was creating this trouble for them. And I just wonder why you can't go, right, we will get someone in, we'll put in a fan that was exactly the same as before, and we'll go from there. And if you do that in front of us,
we'll... Once, Mary.
Sorry?
That already happened in June, July.
Well, I've never heard from you that that's happened. I've never heard. Now, Jamie was actually telling me at that point that your installers had ghosted you. Couldn't get hold of them.
Sorry, is there a question?
No, I'm just telling you a statement of fact that Jamie, your head chef, when we were having our conversation,
He's not on the call. He's not on the call, and I can't. Again, I can't go back and forth with conjecture about. I don't know when you had that conversation.
Third party.
I think we're probably sort of moving out of realms now of I mean, I think this is something that you need to take up with David outside of here, because I mean, we're coming up to well, we've been on the call since 9:30. I've got a physio appointment at 2:15, and I think we do need to sort of move on, because we've got to, after this we have we've got to have our deliberations. So if that's okay. If you want, I think maybe it might be a good idea if you arranged a meeting with David, all of you, to sort of talk through these things. Victoria, and then Kerry, and then Sarah.
Mindful of time, so a really quick question for Rebecca. I think I had read in previous licensing cases the council had imposed a condition that a fan couldn't be operating at full speed for the entire course of business operations. Now, I think even Rita's mentioned the fan, when it's on its loudest, is much more disruptive than when it's on its quieter setting. So if you're considering conditions, that potentially would be something, if Rebecca, you think it's within scope of the law, that I would be really grateful to see, because the fan on a lower setting is much, much less disruptive to my life than when it's on its highest setting, which often seems to be all day.
Can I just interject there, just to point out that it's actually the inverse, which seems to be the issue. If we run the fan at 20% on the controller, this is why we've ended up in this position of replacing the controller this week. When we try to run the fan at a lower speed, there seems to be more issues than running at full speed. So
well,
that
condition could be about the noise.
That's the fact.
So
I mean, it could that could be an appropriate cause. I just don't think the panel's got quite enough information to do that. And there's no. I mean, one course of action is to adjourn this hearing and see whether or not some of the action that is proposed has any effect, or to consider some kind of condition about the controller. But I don't know whether that would be acceptable.
Well, I mean, actually, if adjourning would be one way of doing this, but we have to have the same three of us on the.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, you would. It would be part heard effectively, so it would be tricky. I see.
I mean, I think it's a good idea, but I don't think it's so impractical at the moment. Sarah, do you want to come in on that, or?
Sorry. The only reason I put my hand up was to say that I've got to rush off this afternoon to an appointment, so I just wanted to let you know. But sorry, David, I think I probably missed what it is you're planning for this week that's going to have a big effect. Could we adjourn until after that's happened to see if it has had an effect?
You're welcome to. It's in the written submissions at point 8.1. Sorry, apologies. I should have put page numbers on this submission.
Yes, that always helps. Thank you.
Just above where paragraph 9 is, there's reference to the replacement of the 10 amp voltage regulator speed controller that was installed in 2025 with a 7.5 amp transformer single phase 5-step controller.
So that's being changed this week, and you think that's going to have?
I'm advised. I don't know what
have a positive effect.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think it's worth possibly?
Well, it's an option to the panel to adjourn and see whether that action has an effect, and also to maybe get Carmelo as well to come to the hearing, and
then we may have the appeal may have been dealt with by then as well. I know.
Well, the appeal, that's in June. What time? But it's only a preliminary hearing, isn't it? But it's going to set directions, or presumably for the what time? What date is that? Did you say?
It was the 22nd of June.
22nd of June.
I think that gives a month.
I'm away between. Hang on, I'm away from the 15th to the 23rd. Well, I'll come back on the 23rd.
Well,
Rita, what do you think about that possibility?
Yeah, ask Rita. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I understand and I appreciate it. My frustration is that, even with the abatement notice that was served in January, of course, Mr. Toscano has every right to appeal, and I fully agree with that. But in the meantime, there is no protection for us. So for the last 5 months, even with the abatement notice, I didn't get, quiet enjoyment of my home. And so even now, the fan is on. Do you know what I mean? And it's been on since 11 a.m.
But I think we've heard that. I think now we're looking at the question was about
an adjournment,
and a possible adjournment to see if thing that is going to happen will help. And then it may be that we have a...
So hopefully, because then that's going to be almost another month.
Yeah, and that gives a month. I know it's another month, but it gives it time to see if it's actually had an effect, a positive effect.
Yes, definitely. And it would be helpful if David could also, you know, maybe have a conversation with the kitchen and make sure that they are using the fan, you know, as little as possible within, obviously, safety.
Agreed. I mean, don't worry, that will 100% be reiterated after this call, but that's the instructions they've been under. I mean, they've been under before there was an issue, issue with the noise from the extraction anyway, but that would definitely be reiterated.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah. I mean, in terms of adjourning, as I said, I've got planning. Some of us have got planning committee next week, and also I've got an urgent TENS hearing next week.
I think
as
if we
well.
adjourned, it would be for, you know, in line with Rebecca and legal, it would be for over a month to see if this has an effect.
Yeah, I think that would be sensible. I mean, I don't think, yeah, so I don't know if we can find a date now or if that's a bit unrealistic, or we obviously we want to make sure that everyone can attend if that's, I can see Kerry's got her hand up. I don't know. I mean, it's up to the panel as well, so I don't want to, you know.
No.
Kerry and then John.
I'm quite happy to adjourn if that's being asked of me, but also I'd just like to get some clarification from David. Previously, I asked you if the previous fan was linked to both kitchens. However, Mary just asked David a question about whether or not there were two kitchens previously, and David seemed unable to answer that. So I'm really confused as to whether the previous fan was connected to two kitchens because there were two kitchens in the first place.
So I think this is a timeline kind of confusion. So when we're talking about the previous fan, we're talking about the fan which was removed in April 2025 and was installed as part of our building works in November 2017. So the extraction system has not changed at all since 2017. All that's happened is that the two fans and the controller were replaced in April 2025, and the extraction fan was replaced again by the same installer in June, July last year.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. I would be in favour of an adjournment. I feel that, you know, through works which are being undertaken this week might solve it. So I think it would be quite reasonable for the panel to not have to make a decision whilst this very imminent work is about to take place. And I wouldn't feel, well, I certainly wouldn't want any conditions on the licence which states the speed or the timings of the fan which would be in operation, because obviously it has health and safety impacts on the staff working in the restaurant. So I wouldn't want you know, any potential conditions of a license to supersede the impact it would have on the staff and customers.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I'm sorry for the residents and for Mary that this might not, you know, this isn't what you were hoping from this, but I think David has made, he's spoken in good faith, I think, particularly in terms of he's actually got people on site now doing it. But what I would ask of David is that he keeps in contact with you all and lets you know what's happening. I mean, this is outside of my jurisdiction, our jurisdiction, but I'm just asking that he does keep you updated with what's happening, and that if there is any problem at all, you're still having problems, that you get in touch with Tim or oh gosh, I've forgotten. Carmelo. That you keep in touch with Carmelo, and that we are kept, the three of us in this panel are kept in the loop on that. Is that okay, Tim? Can you do that? Yeah, so that we know what's going on, because it may be that we don't have to, we may not have, well, if we did have to reconvene, it would be a relatively short and simple hearing, I would have thought.
The way I manage that is to ask Carmelo to contact the complainants to see if there's been a noticeable difference. I think that's the easiest way to resolve that, rather than obviously contact David unnecessarily. So I'll just wait for the complainants to contact us, or we'll arrange to make contact. I believe the end of this week has been agreed, so Carmelo will be in contact next Monday to follow up with the complainants. I think that's reasonable time to go. Yep.
Include myself, John, Kerry, Rebecca and Sarah in that, so that we know what's going on, because we don't want to suddenly say, oh, what's happened to that here, oh, do we need it now? I mean, just
sure. So I'll just confirm with Sarah who I'm sending that out to.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
CC list.
Councillor, forgive me, I'll have to leave now.
That's okay, right. Mary.
Yeah, thank you.
That's okay. And congratulations on the baby, Rita. What's his name?
Vicky.
Victoria.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said it. Sorry, Vicky. Oh, what's the baby's name?
His name's Milo, and he's very sweetly just gone to sleep.
Oh,
I would show you his cute little.
Oh, well, look, I hope things progress in the way you want it to. And we, as I said, I've asked for us to be kept updated. So hopefully, maybe by this time next week, all your troubles will be over. That would be great. Anyway, Rebecca, would you like to come in?
Well, so can I just say you're as the panel, then you're minded to adjourn this hearing, and that is permissible under the hearings regulations, Regulation 12. You can adjourn a hearing to a specified date or arrange it to be held on a specified date, or we'll have to probably work that one out, maybe outside this panel, where it considers it to be necessary for its consideration of any representations or notice. And I think that's probably made out in this case, in that you want to see whether or not a proposal is going to have an effect on the prevention of public nuisance.
Positive effect, yeah.
A positive. So we're thinking of adjourning for a month, and we need to get dates to avoid for that. Then maybe people could send in to Sarah some dates to avoid for
2 weeks, sort of a 2-week period from a month's time. And then I think we can
from June, from the sort of 20th of June to the.
So no, I'm away.
You're back on.
I'm back on the 23rd, so it would be from the 23rd onward.
So from the 23rd to, we want to till mid-July, I think.
Yeah, that's
the sort of,
and I think
window,
Francis hopefully will be able to accommodate
that. And I think we do want to try and have some, well, maybe Timothy and Carmela to attend. I mean, if,
definitely,
as I say, this does want to look at being solution focused if possible, and that's the main aim, and to take no more than is action that's appropriate and proportionate. So okay, so dates to avoid from the 23rd of June till mid-July, I think. We've got John, you've got your hand up.
Thanks. So just in terms of mechanisms, should it be withdrawn? So let's say work takes place, problems resolved. Is it reliant on Rita to put a request for withdrawal in?
I think if the problem is resolved, we still probably have to technically meet, but it can be dealt with very quickly. I mean, if the panel would still have to technically convene, because you can't actually withdraw a review, so it's quite difficult to. But the panel could meet.
Okay, thanks for clarifying. No,
very quickly. If that's Any other questions? Sorry.
Yeah, Tim.
It was just a statement. I realised I hadn't mentioned earlier. Kamala wasn't able to attend. He had a medical appointment. He couldn't reschedule today, hence why I had to stand in his place. Just wanted to clarify
that's fine.
that.
I mean, we all have them.
Thank you.
As I said, I've got one in an hour's time. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Right. Okay. So Rebecca, we don't need to do summaries, do we?
No.
Okay. Okay.
No, I think so. The panel's adjourned until towards the end of June, early July, in order to see what effect the proposed works may have, and to canvass any other possible solutions if that doesn't if that doesn't solve the issue, or not, depending on the final submissions that are made. So I don't want to preempt anything, obviously.
Okay.
Right. Anything from anyone else?
No, I would just like to say that I hope that everybody, including David, is happy with the kind of it's not a compromise, but this the way forward. And I wish, I hope, David, that when you get back to the restaurant, you'll find that work's almost done. That would be great, wouldn't it?
It would be great, but just to be clear, I didn't say that the works were ongoing now. I said that they were planned for this week, and I wasn't sure whether.
Right. Okay. But
on the call, I don't know whether that's happened. I don't.
Okay. It's okay. It's okay. You don't have to be a lawyer now. You don't have to be a lawyer now. Okay. Well, I'm glad we've cut. It's been a long stretch, but we've got. This is very unusual. I don't think any of us have come across anything like this before, and I've been doing this for a while. In a previous life as a councillor. So I will now bring the meeting to a close. And Rebecca, do we have to go into back into closed session for 5 minutes just to clear everything up?
No, I don't think so. But if the parties can send any dates to avoid, that would be helpful to the licensing team, so that they can reconvene the hearing, and yourselves probably. Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody, and
thank you.
I suggest you all go and lie in a cool room now. That's what I'm going to do. Well, mind you, you can hear my dog barking as well. He's someone that's had the temerity to walk past the house. Okay, everybody, see you again.
Thank you.
Or not. Yeah,
Thank
take
you very
care.
much.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.